Chapter 48. The Wuhuan Cavalry. Yi Chen frowned again. Cavalry had no advantage in the forest, but the Wuhuan cavalry had come to Reincarnation Forest. Yi Chen was naturally confused. How many? Where is it? Yi Chen thought for a while, then looked at Zhao Heng and asked. Zhao Heng hastily bowed and replied, Your Excellency, there are at least 10,000 Wuhuan cavalry, and each of them is riding 2 horses. They're at the northern edge of Reincarnation Forest. Hearing this, Yi Chen's eyes lit up. The horses were here. Are they heading straight for the Reincarnation Valley? Yi Chen suddenly recalled something and hurriedly asked. Yes, Your Excellency. They're heading in the direction of Reincarnation Valley, Zhao Heng gravely replied. Heading straight for Reincarnation Valley. Yi Chen frowned. There were at least 10,000 of them, and each of them was riding 2 horses. They couldn't be here for a vacation. They had to be here for a reason. The Wuhuan cavalry had no reason to attack the mountain strongholds. Plundering was their standard practice. Since no one had discovered Reincarnation Village, the Wuhuan cavalry had no idea. Right at that moment, Yi Chen suddenly thought of something and raised his head. A towering mountain towering into the clouds instantly entered Yi Chen's eyes. A few days ago, Yi Chen had killed 2 wilderness great bosses at the summit of this mountain. Their target should be the blue-eyed tiger king or the blackwater mystical snake. Thinking of this, the corners of Yi Chen's mouth curled up. He then looked at Zhao Heng and asked, How long will it take for the Wuhuan cavalry to reach Reincarnation Valley? Your Excellency, according to the villagers who explored the path, this subordinate estimates that the Wuhuan cavalry will reach Reincarnation Valley in at most an hour, Zhao Heng hastily replied. An hour is enough. Yi Chen narrowed his eyes, a cold glint flashing in them. Your Excellency, should we send people to the 4 strongholds? Zhao Heng hastily asked. Yi Chen shook his head and said, There's not enough time. Even the nearest training site will take 4 hours. Your Excellency, I deserve to die. If I had sent my men to the 4 training points in advance, perhaps. Zhao Heng knelt on the ground with a plop sound. Tears streamed down his face as he shouted with a face full of self-blame. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with you. Even if you send someone, it will be too late. Yi Chen hurriedly helped Zhao Heng up, then continued. However, Xiu Qiu's 10,000 Wuhuan cavalrymen are courting death by coming to the Reincarnation Forest. Gather all the soldiers at the drill ground. Also, recall all the villagers of Reincarnation Village. No one is allowed to leave before the Wuhuan cavalry is dealt with. Yes, my lord. Zhao Heng wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes and hurriedly bowed in response. Then, he hurriedly left to convey Yi Chen's orders. The Wuhuan cavalry. Yi Chen's eyes flashed, and he walked towards the drill ground. Arriving at the drill ground, Yi Chen ascended the high platform. A swish sound was immediately heard. Greetings, my lord. Tens of thousands of soldiers knelt on one knee and shouted in unison. They were basically bandits who had surrendered. Even the predecessor of the Samsara Legion was no exception. However, not only had their temperament and image completely changed, but even their loyalty had not been reduced in the slightest. Looking at the tens of thousands of soldiers, Yi Chen's expression was solemn as he raised his right hand. Swish! The tens of thousands of soldiers rose in unison. As I said before, the Reincarnation Village has land and money to reward based on merit. When Yi Chen said this, the eyes of the tens of thousands of soldiers lit up. While the soldiers were waiting expectantly, Yi Chen spoke again. However, a villager has just detected a group of cavalrymen. In another hour, they will arrive at the Reincarnation Valley. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, the soldiers were first stunned, and then they exploded with anger. Not at Yi Chen, but at the cavalrymen that Yi Chen spoke of. They were about to reap the benefits. They would be able to get money and land. Money was secondary. The most important thing was the land. Yi Chen had promised to privatize it. With this, they would be able to marry a wife, carry on the family line, and live in peace and contentment. This kind of life would be great. However, A group of cavalrymen had come here and disrupted their imagined life. How could the soldiers not be angry? Looking at the tens of thousands of soldiers who were not afraid at all, Yi Chen had a deeper understanding of the God-level village creation token. Territory stability, plus 60. Territory resident satisfaction, plus 60. It did not seem to have much use, but it had an effect that could not be ignored. As long as the villagers of the reincarnation village, even if they had just joined, they would spontaneously treat the reincarnation village as their home. Otherwise, the bandits who had just surrendered would definitely betray or even run away after hearing about the arrival of the cavalrymen. Yi Chen nodded with satisfaction and then shouted, "That's right. This place is Liaoxi of Yuzhou. To the north are the Wuhuan, Xinbei, and to the west are the Xiongnu. We are all Han people. However, the foreign tribes often plunder the frontier and rob the Han people of their wealth and women." Speaking until here, Yi Chen paused for a moment. The tens of thousands of soldiers below the stage began to breathe heavily. What Yi Chen said was true. They all knew this. No one had thought about it before because they were bandits. But now, they had become members of the reincarnation village. They had to think about this problem. What would they do if the foreign races came and stole everything they were about to have? The more they thought about it, the angrier they became. No one wanted their things to be taken away. Tell me, are all of you willing to follow me into battle? Yi Chen's eyes narrowed as he shouted, "Yes, yes, yes." Tens of thousands of soldiers shouted in unison. Yi Chen waved his right hand, and the God Slayer instantly appeared. The black cloud armor immediately covered Yi Chen's body. Whoosh! Tens of thousands of soldiers clenched their weapons. A murderous and ruthless aura began to emerge, and then continued to rise. When the aura reached its peak, Yi Chen waved his right hand and shouted, "Those who offend the reincarnation village, kill! 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 Kill!" Tens of thousands of soldiers shouted in unison. Bloody, murderous aura instantly erupted. Among them, the Samsara Legion was the most intense. "Let's go." After saying this, Yi Chen went straight down the stage. Then he mounted the warhorse that Zhao Heng had prepared for him and rode toward the entrance of the Reincarnation Valley. Tens of thousands of reincarnation soldiers followed closely behind with weapons in their hands. Murderous, cold, and indomitable aura began to condense and then became stronger and stronger. Chapter 49. When Yi Chen led his soldiers out of the drill ground, the villagers of Reincarnation Village were already waiting outside. They held hoes in their hands, axes for cutting wood, and pickaxes for mining. They had heard the news of the arrival of the Wuhuan cavalry and their lord, Yi Chen. He had just returned and was about to lead his troops to fight against the enemy. Congratulations to the Lord on his victory. Congratulations to the Lord on his victory. Congratulations to the Lord on his victory. The villagers of Reincarnation Village bowed and shouted in unison when they saw Yi Chen. They were grateful to Yi Chen and Yi Chen for giving them a stable life. But they were only farmers. The only thing they could do was wait quietly in Reincarnation Village for Yi Chen's triumphant return. If Reincarnation Village was attacked by the enemy, they would not hesitate to pick up their hoes and fight to the death. They had done so before, even though such a thing had not happened. But it was undeniable that they had such determination. Yi Chen glanced at the simple villagers and nodded. Then, he continued on his way. Tens of thousands of soldiers followed Yi Chen toward the entrance of the valley. When Yi Chen led his troops out of Reincarnation Valley, a beautiful figure walked out from behind a tree. She looked at the departing army, wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and whispered, "Be careful, outside the valley." Yi Chen rode on his horse and looked at the endless reincarnation forest. After a moment of silence, he turned around and shouted, "Samsara Legion, stay where you are. The rest of you, climb up the trees. Wait for the Wuhuan cavalry to arrive, then attack. Pay attention, try to kill the cavalry, but don't hurt the horses." "Yes, Lord. My Lord," someone shouted in unison. Tens of thousands of Reincarnation Village soldiers immediately rushed to the trees in front of them and climbed up one by one to hide. They all carried bows and quivers on their backs. The trees in Reincarnation Forest were tall, thick, and lush. It was no problem to hide 3 to 5 people. Previously, when Yi Chun attacked the mountain stronghold, he had sold all the weapons he obtained in the market. Because of this, he had obtained more than 200,000 taels of gold. However, even though Yi Chun needed money, he wouldn't do something like killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. In this era, it was true that one had soldiers, but one also needed weapons. Therefore, every bandit who surrendered was armed with a wooden spear, a bow, a quiver, and enough arrows. Even though these bows and arrows weren't high-grade weapons, they were more than enough to deal with the Wuhuan cavalry. The Wuhuan tribe was a nomadic tribe. They were rich in war horses, but this was not important. The most important thing was that they lacked iron smelting technology and such talents. It was impossible for them to have many armored cavalry. Reincarnation Forest, on the other hand, was filled with towering trees. It was impossible for cavalry to charge here. A cavalry that could not charge was trash and could not be of much use. Therefore, Yi Chun was not worried about the Wuhuan cavalry at all. Moreover, Yi Chun had already steeled his heart to devour the Wuhuan cavalry. Steal their war horses. War horses were a strategic resource during the Three Kingdoms period. A lord with a cavalry was a powerful lord. Whether it was mobility or attacking ability, cavalry was second to none. Of course, cavalry was limited by the terrain. They could only display their power in open areas. However, whether Yi Chun was participating in the Northern Expedition or the upcoming historical plot, cavalry was a must. Only cavalry and heavy cavalry blueprints could change a soldier's occupation to cavalry or heavy cavalry. Without war horses, could cavalry still be cavalry? Obviously not. Therefore, Yi Chun wanted to take down the Wuhuan cavalry in the Reincarnation Forest. To be precise, he wanted to take down their war horses. Yi Chun stood in front of the 4,000 Samsara Legion. He looked forward with a serious and cold expression. Behind him, the 4,000 Samsara Legion held their spears and stood as still as a mountain. On the trees, the Reincarnation Village soldiers held their bows and waited for battle. A strong wind blew and the leaves rustled. Other than that, there was no other sound. As time passed, Yi Chun's eyes widened when he heard the snorting of war horses and the sound of people discussing. Here it comes. Yi Chun raised his right hand. Tens of thousands of hidden Reincarnation Village soldiers in the trees pulled their bows and aimed at the ground. Swoosh! The 4,000 soldiers of the Samsara Corps raised their spears in unison. Soon, the Wuhuan cavalry's discussion was heard. What the hell is this place? Why are there so many trees? How would I know? But I think the place with that big tiger must be extraordinary. Leader Jieduan has put in a lot of effort for Qiu Liju. Nonsense. Leader Jieduan is Qiu Liju's follower. Of course, he has to curry favor with Qiu Liju. Hee. If Leader Jieduan can become the Chanyu, then we'll be happy. We'll have women and cows and sheep. Ha, that's right. Leader Jieduan is invincible and good to us. With him, we can live a good life. After killing that tiger, we must ask Leader Jieduan to take us to rob the Han people. That's a must. TSK. Just think about those Han girls. They're so soft and tender. Yi Chun narrowed his eyes, and then a cold light flashed in his eyes. At this moment, several Wuhuan cavalry appeared in Yi Chun's sight with their horses. Kill! Yi Chun waved his right hand and shouted. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless arrows instantly shot out from the trees towards the dumbfounded Wuhuan cavalry. They came here to kill the blue-eyed Tiger King. There shouldn't be any people in this boundless forest. Even if there were, there would only be some bandits and robbers. They were not afraid of bandits and robbers. No bandits and robbers dared to attack them. They were the Wuhuan people, a people who grew up on horseback. They were brave and fearless. Every one of them was a soldier and good at fighting. If bandits and robbers came, they could easily kill them. But now, there were 4,000 strong soldiers in front of them, and countless arrows were shot at them from the trees. Puff, puff, puff. The sound of arrows piercing into flesh rose one after another. One by one, the Wuhuan cavalrymen were hit by the arrows, and blood sprayed out from their bodies. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Countless Wuhuan cavalrymen cried out in surprise. Chapter 50. The Wuhuan cavalrymen dodged the arrows that were shot down from the trees in a panic. However, most of them were killed by the arrows. Those who were not killed by the arrows were lying on the ground, wailing and struggling. They never thought that they would be ambushed here. There were so many of them. Stop! Stop! A shout of alarm was heard. It was a Wuhuan general in armor who shouted loudly as he swatted away the arrows that were shot at him. However, the arrows did not stop. They continued to rain down from the trees. Who are you? We are the subordinates of Chanyu Chiu. We are not Xianbei or Xiongnu people. The Wuhuan general shouted anxiously again. The Wuhuan tribe was controlled by the Great Han Empire, but they often participated in robbing the Han people. Yi Chen knew this, but he wasn't worried. He wouldn't be soft-hearted because of this. Aren't you afraid that Chanyu Chiu will report you to the emperor of the Great Han Empire and accuse you of killing the Han people? The Wuhuan general shouted angrily when he saw that the attacks were still going on. The Han people? Yi Chen curled his lips in disdain. This was the last years of the Eastern Han dynasty, when the foreign tribes often attacked and robbed the Han people. Yi Chen was very disdainful of the foreign tribes who had never truly submitted to the Great Han Empire, saying that they were also the Han people. These words might work if they were used to fool the rotten scholars of this era. However, it was a joke to Yi Chen. Those who were not of the same race would definitely have different intentions. This was the most vivid example of this era. The foreign tribes had never stopped attacking the Great Han Empire. Even if they failed, they would surrender, accumulate strength, and come back to fight again. It was useless to reason with such people. If one had to reason with them, they would use their fists, weapons, and blood. They would only be obedient if they were beaten until they cried for their parents and were killed until their blood dyed the grassland red. The Wuhuan general was so angry that he almost vomited blood when he realized that the attacks had not stopped. He had brought a total of 15,000 Wuhuan cavalrymen with him. Most of them had been killed in such a short time. I surrender. We surrender. One of the Wuhuan cavalrymen broke down and fell to his knees, crying. Whoosh! Whoosh! Dozens of arrows shot toward the Wuhuan cavalryman. Kill him even if he surrenders. Do you have any morals? A Wuhuan cavalryman roared in grief and indignation. Beg for mercy, live, and then wait for an opportunity to come back for revenge. This was the choice of foreign races when they were weak. This method had always worked, but at this moment, they were horrified to find that it was useless. The Wuhuan cavalrymen, who had been prepared to surrender, were now truly afraid. This was the rhythm of wanting to kill them all. Bastard! Do you dare to fight me one-on-one? Despicable Han people! A loud shout rang out. The Crow general looked at Yi Chen with bloodshot eyes. When Yi Chen heard this, his eyes narrowed. He raised his right hand and stopped the attack. If there are any strange movements, kill. Yi Chen's cold voice came out of his mouth. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, the sound of bowstrings being drawn could be heard. Underground, the Wuhuan cavalrymen, who had been killed until they were terrified, did not dare to move. Originally, they had wanted to find an opportunity to escape. At the very least, they wanted to find a place to hide. However, at that moment, they did not dare to move. They did not dare to move at all. They looked at the Wuhuan general in unison, their eyes full of anticipation. They hoped that their general could defeat Yi Chen and capture Yi Chen. That way, they would be able to live. Moreover, they believed that their general could do it, because their general was a Wuhuan warrior. Yi Chen clearly had the upper hand, but he still agreed to a one-on-one battle. Was he really that stupid? No. In this period of time, a battle between generals was the mainstream. A general who did not dare to accept the challenge would definitely lose a lot of prestige in the hearts of the soldiers. It was true that Yi Chen was a lord, but Yi Chen was also a general who led troops in a battle. More importantly, The 9 Revolutions' mysterious art did not allow Yi Chun to shrink back. The 9 Revolutions' mysterious art was a fighting method. If he was timid, even if he avoided the battle, it would seriously affect Yi Chun's state of mind. Yi Chun could not allow the slightest flaw in his state of mind. Otherwise, when Yi Chun entered the untainted land in the future, he would not be able to improve his cultivation after reaching a certain level. This was something that Yi Chun did not want to see. Moreover, Yi Chun was a king-level general in the innate realm, and so was the Wuhuan general. Yi Chun had no reason to refuse the one-on-one battle. "Who the hell are you? Why are you attacking us?" The Wuhuan general took advantage of the pause in the attack and shouted with a livid face. Yi Chun coldly glanced at the Wuhuan general, swung the Godslayer in his right hand, and then raised it diagonally. Then he shouted, "I am Yi Chun, the Lord of the Reincarnation Village and a third-class Viscount of the Great Han Empire." "The Lord of the Reincarnation Village? Damn it! Why are you attacking us? We didn't attack your village." The Wuhuan general was stunned when he heard Yi Chun's words, and then he roared angrily. At the same time, his heart involuntarily thumped. He knew whether the Great Han Empire was strong or not, but he also knew one thing. In the Great Han Empire, there was no village leader with such a powerful force. Chapter 51. General Wu Huan was frantically guessing. He wanted to confirm Yi Chun's true identity. Was he a general from Yuzhou, or was he specially sent by the Great Han Empire? This was related to the future of the Wuhuan tribe. After all, no matter how one looked at it, the current Yi Chun looked like he wanted to destroy them. He wanted to send this news back to his leader, Xie Dun, and Chan Yu Qiu Li Ju. Cut the crap and fight. Yi Chun raised his right hand and pointed the Godslayer at General Wu Huan. "I am General Wu Huan." General Wu Huan was enraged by Yi Chun's provocation and shouted, "I'm not interested in remembering the names of dead people." Yi Chun sneered and shouted. General Wu Huan glanced at Yi Chun with a purple face. He wanted to stall for time and beat around the bush to find out Yi Chun's true identity. However, when he saw the contempt in Yi Chun's eyes, he could no longer hold back his anger. Yi Chun looked at him as if he was looking at an ant. General Wu Huan was a king-level general and had never been looked down upon like this. "Kill!" General Wu Huan raised his mace and rushed toward Yi Chun crazily. This was the reincarnation forest, and there was a tree every few steps. There was no way to ride a horse. Therefore, he rushed toward Yi Chun on foot. He wanted to teach Yi Chun a lesson and then capture Yi Chun. As long as they caught Yi Chun, whether it was Yi Chun's identity or the safety of his subordinates, all problems would be solved. He was a warrior of the Wuhuan tribe and had fought countless battles. He believed that he was stronger than this wet-behind-the-ears Great Han Empire general. Ow, ow, ow. When the Wuhuan cavalry saw General Wu Huan attack, they forgot the threat of death and cheered loudly. They were cheering for General Wu Huan. He was a powerful and invincible warrior who could lead them to survival. Die! Yi Chun narrowed his eyes, and a murderous aura suddenly erupted. He stomped his right foot on the ground and rushed toward General Wu Huan. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" The Samsara Legion shouted in unison, and waves of killing intent soared into the sky. 2 breaths later, Yi Chun and General Wu Huan rushed together. Just as they were about to make contact, the thick and dark Godslayer swiftly stabbed towards Great General Wu Huan. Simple, crude, and without any flourishes. General Wu Huan, who was full of confidence, was shocked. He hurriedly gave up the idea of smashing Yi Chun with his mace and swung it at Godslayer. General Wu Huan had a feeling that if it weren't for the fact that he had fought countless battles and reacted extremely quickly, he would have instantly become a corpse at this moment. He never thought that Yi Chun would be so domineering, and his spear skills were too violent. Dang! A loud sound rang out instantly. The sound of weapons clashing caused Great General Wu Huan's face to twitch. At this moment, a feeling of death descended upon him. Great General Wu Huan's pupil shrank and then shrank again. He saw the Godslayer. The Godslayer was not smashed away by him at all, and it didn't even miss its target. Puff! There was a sound. The dark god slayer pierced through great General Wu Huan's heart, and the tip of the spear came out of his back. Victory! 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 Thunderous roars came from the mouths of the reincarnation village soldiers. Great General Wu Huan's cavalrymen opened their mouths wide in disbelief. Their general had died so cleanly and cleanly in a single exchange. What kind of spear skill is this? Great General Wu Huan looked down at the god slayer pierced through his heart and asked unwillingly. Basic spear skills, Yichen said lightly. Then he pulled back the god slayer with his right hand. Sizzle! Blood spurted out of Great General Wu Huan's heart in an instant. Great General Wu Huan's eyes widened, and then he fell to the ground and died with great unwillingness. Until his death, he still thought that Yi Chun was humiliating him. But in fact, what Yi Chun used was really the basic spear skills, but it was a god-level basic spear skill. If he knew that it was Yi Chun who had won this spear god title, he would understand why reality was so cruel. Spear God. Unique using a spear weapon. Attack power x2. Accuracy x2. Comprehension plus 100. Unfortunately, he didn't have a chance. At this moment, a world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for killing Great General Wu Huan, Mu Duo. The reward is 1 million merit points. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun for killing Great General Wu Huan, Mu Duo. The reward is 1 million merit points. The announcement was repeated 3 times in a row, and it instantly caused an uproar in the world channel. Damn! Yi Chun, it's Yi Chun again. Damn, is he a relative of the system? Damn, I can't even beat bandits now, but someone can kill a Great General Wu Huan. Damn, what level is he? Didn't you notice? Damn it. A Wu Huan king-level general is worth 1 million merit points. TCH, what's the use of merit points? Can they be eaten? Idiot, merit points are very important to lore-class players. Otherwise, if you don't have a noble title, you can't level up your territory. Buying Yi Chun's territory coordinates at a high price. Interested parties, please contact Bloody Rose. Buying Yi Chun's territory coordinates at a high price. Interested parties, please contact Peerless Dominator. Buying Yi Chun's territory coordinates at a high price. I know where Yi Chun is. Yuzhou. He must be in Yuzhou. Idiot, Bingzhou is also possible. The world announcement was very lively, but Yi Chun didn't pay attention to it. Even if he saw it, he would choose to ignore it, because after the world announcement, the approximate location of the reincarnation village was bound to be guessed. However, it was very difficult to be precise. With a pop sound, 3 items appeared next to Great General Wu Huan's corpse. A glowing sphere, a mace, and a book. After Yi Chun put away the 3 items, he looked at the remaining Great General Wu Huan cavalry. Kill! The cold order was instantly heard. Whoosh, 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 countless arrows poured down in an instant, killing the surviving Great General Wu Huan cavalry. Yi Chun wasn't ready to accept the surrender of these Great General Wu Huan cavalry. At least, before the reincarnation village had a strong military force, he wouldn't take them in. Because it was very difficult to merge, there would be a lot of hidden dangers. Yi Chun didn't want his territory to be in such a situation. Moreover, he couldn't let these people go back alive. The reason was very simple. Yi Chun wanted to trick another wave of Great General Wu Huan cavalry. Snatch their war horses. Chapter 52. On the ground, the corpses of the Wu Huan cavalrymen were strewn all over the place, with dozens of arrows stuck in their bodies. Their faces were filled with fear, confusion, and despair. Blood stained the ground under their feet, and the smell of blood began to drift in the reincarnation forest. The Wu Huan cavalrymen were completely wiped out, leaving behind a field of war horses snorting on the ground. This was a great victory because Yi Chun had taken advantage of the right time, the right place, and the right people. It was hard not to win. Looking at the corpses and the snorting war horses, Yi Chun raised the corner of his mouth and shouted, "Clean up the battlefield. Clean up the battlefield and bury the corpses on the spot." treat the wounded and kill the crippled. Send the rest back to the reincarnation village. As soon as Yi Chun gave the order, the soldiers of the reincarnation village answered in unison, "Yes, my lord." At this moment, the soldiers of the reincarnation village were so excited that they could not express their feelings. Because under the leadership of Yi Chun, they had won a great victory. No one died, no one was injured, and they had wiped out 15,000 people. The soldiers of the reincarnation village had never thought that there would be a war where no one would die. The way they looked at Yi Chun changed from the respect they had in the past to fanatical worship. He killed a king-level general with one stab and led them to a complete victory over the Wuhuan cavalrymen. Following such a lord, they felt proud and excited from the bottom of their hearts. The soldiers of the reincarnation village on the tree counted down and carried out Yi Chun's order. They buried the corpses and collected the war horses. After 30 minutes, the battlefield was cleaned up. At this moment, a soldier came to Yi Chun, bowed, and said, "My lord, we found a weapon that we don't understand." "A weapon that we don't understand?" Yi Chun was slightly surprised. "Yes, my lord. It's very strange and a little big," the soldier hurriedly replied. "Take me there." Yi Chun could not figure out what the soldier was talking about. "Yes." After the soldier finished speaking, he turned around and walked away. Yi Chun followed with a puzzled expression. After walking for a while, he saw a group of soldiers curiously sizing up a strange object. "My lord." When the soldiers saw Yi Chun walking over, they called out in unison. Yi Chun nodded and looked at the pitch-black object that the soldiers called a weapon. "This is ballista." It was a ballista. It was a powerful ballista with an extremely long range. How could Wu Huan have a ballista? Yi Chun frowned slightly, but soon Yi Chun gave up on thinking about this problem. It had nothing to do with Yi Chun. Yi Chun only wanted to know how many ballistae the Wu Huan cavalry had brought, because no matter how many ballistae they had brought, all of them belonged to Yi. The ballista was a control product and could not be obtained easily. Even in the regular army of the Great Han Empire, it was rare to see one. Yi Chun naturally would not give up on these ballistae. He would take as many as Yi Chun had. The more ballistae there were, the more advantageous it would be for Reincarnation Village. Soon, the first historical plot of the Three Kingdoms, the Yellow Turban Rebellion, would begin. With countless ballistae, Reincarnation Village would be like a hedgehog with thorns. No one would be able to bite it. For Yi Chun, this would allow him to leave Reincarnation Village with peace of mind and reap benefits from the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Go, see if there are any more of these on the backs of the soldiers. Yi Chun hurriedly looked at the soldiers around him and ordered, "Yes, my lord, my lord." The soldiers were all stunned for a moment before they hurriedly bowed in response. They did not expect Yi Chun to value these things so much. From Yi Chun's attitude, they could see that these things were very precious. The soldiers' worship of Yi Chun had reached the point of blind worship. Naturally, they ran over to check them out. This was not because of an order, but because they were willing to work for Yi Chun from the bottom of their hearts. Soon, all the soldiers of Reincarnation Village began to check the horses. Not long after, a soldier hurriedly ran to Yi Chun and said loudly, "My lord, half of the horses are carrying these weapons, and the other half are carrying very thick and very long arrows." Hearing this, Yi Chun's eyes suddenly lit up. These Wuhuan cavalry were really good people, very good people. Thinking that Reincarnation Village now had 15,000 ballistae, Yi Chun's mood was particularly good. "Good. Pass down the order. Bring everything back to Reincarnation Village, including the horses." Yi Chun's eyes lit up as he shouted loudly, "Yes, my lord, my lord." The soldier accepted the order and hurriedly ran off to convey it. Soon, the army began to move. With more than 20,000 horses and a lot of trophies, they returned to Reincarnation Village. At the entrance of Reincarnation Valley, as soon as Yi Chun entered, he saw a beautiful figure. It was Zhao Yu. She was waiting for Yi Chun's return at the entrance of the valley. The most difficult thing to accept was the grace of a beauty. Although Zhao Yu did not do anything to Yi Chun could clearly feel her feelings for him. Yi Chun exhaled deeply and then galloped his horse. Zhao Yu could not help but smile when she saw Yi Chen galloping towards her. She was not the slightest bit intimidated by the galloping warhorse. When the horse passed by Zhao Yu, Yi Chen bent down, picked up Zhao Yu with his right hand, and put her in front of him. Let's go back together. Okay. Chapter 53. Reincarnation Village. When Yi Chen returned, the tense faces of the villagers of Reincarnation Village instantly bloomed with smiles. They were happy from the bottom of their hearts. They were happy for Yi Chen and Reincarnation Village. Congratulations on your triumphant return, my lord. Congratulations on your triumphant return, my lord. Congratulations on your triumphant return, my lord. The villagers shouted loudly one after another. Excited expressions appeared on everyone's faces. Yi Chen smiled and waved his hand, which immediately attracted even louder cheers. Victory! Victory! Yi Chen smiled, then dismounted and led the warhorse to the village chief's house. Zhao Heng, who had been waiting for a long time, followed behind Yi Chen with a smile on his face. He knew that Yi Chen must have a lot of things for him to do. The villagers did not disturb Yi Chen. They knew that, as their lord, Yi Chen had a lot of things to do. Yi Chen left the village and returned to the village chief's house. At this time, the villagers of Reincarnation Village exclaimed one by one, "My God, that's a warhorse? So many warhorses. There must be tens of thousands of warhorses, right? Hiss! I know that the Lord fought against the Wuhuan cavalry for Reincarnation Village, but I didn't expect that the Wuhuan cavalry would have so many. Don't you know who our Lord is? Our Lord is the strongest. Mom, the Lord is so powerful. When I grow up, I want to be a soldier too. I want to get many warhorses for the Lord. Stone is the best. Remember, without the Lord, our family wouldn't have a life we have now. It's because the Lord took us in that our family could survive. Yes, Stone will remember. Stone will definitely repay Sir Overlord and follow Sir Overlord forever." The villagers looked at the victorious soldiers of Reincarnation Village in the distance. They looked at the group of more than 20,000 warhorses and were excited. Reincarnation Village was Yi Chen's territory. They were the residents of Yi Chen's territory. The stronger Reincarnation Village was, the brighter their future would be. And at this moment, Yi Chen used facts to prove this point. It had only been a short while, but Yi Chen had not only won the battle, he had also brought back more than 20,000 warhorses. Only the most powerful and invincible could do this. And Yi Chen, their feudal lord, had done it. Reincarnation Village, village chief's mansion. When they returned, Yi Chen carried Zhao Yu down from the warhorse and led her and Zhao Yu into the living room. After Yi Chen sat on the chair, Zhao Yu went straight to the bedroom. Zhao Yu was a woman. She knew very well that she could not meddle in political affairs, so she made her choice before Yi Chen spoke. Yi Chen saw that Zhao Yu went directly to the bedroom. He couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he realized that Zhao Yu was avoiding something. Although Yi Chen did not care, he still had to consider the feelings of the people in this world. It was nothing now, but when he had more subordinates in the future, this kind of thing would be even more taboo. After all, this world was a real world. Everyone had their own thoughts. Moreover, all kinds of ideas were deeply ingrained. It was not something that could be changed just like that. At this time, Zhao Heng bowed excitedly and said, "Congratulations, my lord. Congratulations, my lord. My lord, this time, you have captured more than 20,000 warhorses. Reincarnation Village will definitely rise and dominate Yuzhou." Yi Chen smiled and asked, "Have you distributed the blueprints and formulas I gave you?" "My lord, they have all been distributed. The construction of the cavalry camp and the heavy cavalry camp has been completed. The Mingguang armor, the steel point, the spear, and the horn bow have also been built. Only the Baiwa wine needs some time." Zhao Heng bowed and replied, "Are there any difficulties?" Yi Chen nodded and then asked, "My lord, the Reincarnation Village does not have the bowstring needed for the horn bow. You have to buy it from the market. The Baiwa wine seems to be of a very high level. It is not like the wine of the mortal world. The female brewer is still working hard on it." Zhao Heng explained, "Bowstring buy in bulk. Don't worry about not having enough money. The role of archers on the battlefield cannot be ignored. Moreover, they're also needed for siege and defense. Also, a large number of arrows need to be stored. When Yichen said this, he paused for a moment before continuing. The Baiwa wine is indeed not something of the mortal world. It is indeed difficult to make it. Tell the brewer to reduce the ingredients as much as possible. Even after the reduction, the wine will be more than 100 times better than the wine of the mortal world. Zhao Heng was stunned when he heard this. Then, he bowed in ecstasy and said, "Congratulations, my lord. Congratulations, my lord. With this divine item, Reincarnation Village will definitely develop rapidly. The residents will live in peace and work happily. The army will be invincible." Yichen laughed and then asked, "Have the buildings been built? Are there any missing buildings?" "My lord, the buildings of Reincarnation Village are all ready. There are also many buildings that should not be in the village," Zhao Heng said with a happy face. The buildings of the village were the basic ones. The extra ones were the cavalry camp and the heavy cavalry camp. Hearing this, Yichen nodded with satisfaction. Calculating the time, Smart Brain Pangu will open the exchange service today. It is time to upgrade the territory. Chapter 54. Just as Yichen finished his thought, the world announcement rang out. Ding! World transformation complete. Exchange service officially opened. Game and reality exchange ratio is 1:1. The world announcement rang out 3 times in a row, and the entire world exploded. F***CK. I finally know what the world transformation is all about. Houses turned into ashes, roads turned into dirt, and weeds grew everywhere. The entire place turned into a primeval forest. This is the world transformation? Mother of Kerr, give me back my house. I spent 10 million to buy that house. Your 10 million is nothing. I bought 10 houses, each one worth 10 million. Mother of Kerr, it's all gone. Give me back my house. Ha ha ha. Idiot. So what if you have the money to buy a house? It's still turned into ashes. Ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. F***CKU scum trash. In the World Channel, those who bought houses and those who couldn't afford houses started mocking and cursing at each other. Some people even vented their dissatisfaction by cursing the damned world, the damned game, and the damned unfairness. At this moment, a group of people quickly took action. Quick, Mother of Kerr, exchange for gold for me. I want to exchange 10 million gold. Go, buy everything for me. This time, I want to be the first to upgrade to a town. Damn Reincarnation Village. Let's see how arrogant you can be this time. The number 1 in Eldritch Land is mine. Mother of Kerr, with money, I want to buy. I want to be number 1 in the world. I want to be the king of the world. Previously, the rich people had been suppressed to the point that they didn't want to. Money was useless here. Now that the game exchange service was opened, they all went crazy. The stronger the game, the stronger the real world. This was no secret. Therefore, everyone was willing to invest crazily, especially when the changes in the world caught people off guard. Everyone was eager to possess great power. Reincarnation Village. Yichen narrowed his eyes and moved. He instantly left the village chief's mansion and went to the market. When Yichen arrived at the market, he didn't say anything and immediately started buying like crazy. Stones, iron, or wood, food he bought crazily. The Reincarnation Village needed resources, but the Reincarnation Village in reality needed them even more. Because the resources needed in the Reincarnation Village in reality were 10 times more than in the game. After Yichen purchased all the resources in the market, he only spent 8 million taels of gold. Looking at the empty market, Yichen smirked and returned to the village chief's mansion. Yichen left the market. In the Great Han Empire, the people who were cursing and stomping their feet appeared one after another. F***CK. Which bastard is this? Why are you so fast? Bastard. Don't let me find out who did it so quickly. Mother of Kerr, these bastards are too fast. Could it be that they've always been in the market? There were indeed a lot of people who had survived until now and found the safe city, that Pangu had built. Among them, there were many rich people, local tycoons, and big local tycoons. Before the meteor fell, they already had a lot of wealth. Now, their wealth had not been taken away and could still be used. These people excitedly wanted to rise up, dominate the game, become stronger in the real world, and some even wanted to become the king of the world. However, at this moment, a merciless slap landed on these people's faces. Very heavy, very loud. Mother asterisk Kerr, all the resources in the market, from the natives to the players, were all swept clean. Not even scrap was left. This was cutting off their roots. Of course, this state could only last for a few days. But in these few days, many ambitious people felt as if they had swallowed a disgusting fly. They had no choice but to swallow it. Reincarnation Village, Village Chief's Mansion. Yichen returned to the living room. With a thought, the foundation stone of the Reincarnation Village, the golden stone tablet, slowly rose from the ground. Looking at the unique golden stone tablet, Yichen smiled and pressed his right hand on the golden stone tablet. With a thought, the system's voice rang out. Ding! The Reincarnation Village, Level 3, Level 4 Village, meets the basic requirements. Checking the number of buildings, meets the requirements. Checking the title, Reincarnation Village Leader Yi Chun, Empire First Class Viscount, meets the requirements. Ding! The Reincarnation Village meets all the requirements. Do you want to upgrade the Reincarnation Village? Upgrade. As soon as Yi Chin's words fell, the entire Reincarnation Village changed. The thatched huts became brick and wood houses, and the fences outside became brick walls. The house became bigger and more beautiful. The street also became wider at this moment, and the road changed from a dirt road to a brick road. More directly, the Reincarnation Village's area expanded 100 times. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun. The Reincarnation Village upgraded to Reincarnation Town. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun, meeting the special requirements. You have obtained the special building blueprint, Recruitment Hall. Hearing this, Yi Chin's eyes widened. There really is this. Chapter 55. Reincarnation Village could have been upgraded to a town a long time ago, but Yi Chin did everything he could to prevent Reincarnation Village from upgrading because of this special blueprint. There was a hidden setting when a territory was upgraded. If all the basic buildings in the territory were completed and the territory was upgraded, it would receive a special blueprint every time it was upgraded. For example, when Reincarnation Village was upgraded to Reincarnation Town, it received a special blueprint. Recruitment Hall. If Reincarnation Town was upgraded to Reincarnation City, it would still receive a special blueprint. This kind of hidden setting with a bug attribute was only known to Yi Chun at the moment. Yi Chun swept away all the resources in the market the moment Pangu opened the exchange business. His goal was to be the first to upgrade to a town. This was because only the first overlord to obtain the hidden reward would be able to obtain the blueprint with the unique attribute. The blueprints after that were also a bit special, but those special blueprints could be bought with money and could be obtained by attacking cities. Therefore, that wasn't rare, and Yi Chun didn't care about it. Of course, this only applied to villages. Once you reached a town, if you wanted to upgrade again, even from small town to a middle town, you would have to build all the buildings before you could continue to upgrade. At that time, you would miss the hidden setting of the game, the special blueprint reward. Just as Yi Chun picked up the Recruitment Hall blueprint, the world announcement suddenly sounded. Ding! Reincarnation Village is the first to upgrade to a town. Special reward. Reincarnation Village is the first town in the world. Special reward, 1 million gold. Reincarnation Village's population spawn rate increased tenfold. Duration, 3 days. Ding! Reincarnation Village is the first to upgrade to a town. Special reward. Reincarnation Village is the first town in the world. Special reward, 1 million gold. Reincarnation Village's population spawn rate increased tenfold. Duration, 3 days. As soon as the world announcement came out, the world channel that had been constantly refreshing suddenly quieted down. 3 seconds later, the world channel exploded. Damn, damn, damn. Yi-chun, you're my brother. Can you tell me, is this your real name? Boss Yi-chun, little brother really wants to follow you. Please accept little brother as your subordinate. In this world, I only admire Boss Yi-chun. Mother asterisk Kerr, he's simply a freak. Sigh, comparisons are odious. I have to say, Yi-chun is really awesome. Nonsense. Which one of you made a world announcement the moment the game started? Which one of you kept refreshing the world announcement? I don't think so. Let me tell you, Yi-chun is my cousin. If you want to do well, hurry up and send me 100,000 gold coins. I can reveal some secrets to you. The time limit is 1 hour. You bad guy, when did my brother have a cousin like you? Everyone, don't believe him. My brother, Yi-chun, doesn't have a cousin. My brother just told me that if anyone wants to know the secrets of the game, they can contact me. One question for 1,000 gold coins, and I'm honest with you. The world channel was very lively. Furthermore, a group of people had suddenly appeared pretending to be Yi-chun's relatives, using Yi-chun's name to swindle people. Just as everyone was talking, those former powers chose to remain silent. No one spoke again. At this moment, unusual content appeared on the world channel. Ow, ow, ow. Human trash, your Uncle Dumb Husky is here. Hurry up and kneel. Roar, roar, roar. Human trash, your Grandpa Pig is here. Hurry up and kneel. Meow, meow. Human. Yes, human idiots, your Granny Black Cat is here. Hurry up and kneel. F asterisk CKU. F asterisk King Stupid Pig. F asterisk King Black Cat. You dare to be Grandpa Dumb Husky's elder? When Grandpa Dumb Husky goes offline, I will immediately go to work, the two of you. Trash, continue playing with your stupid mistress. When you come, your Grandpa Pig will definitely let you know what it means to have a chrysanthemum bloom. Yo, Dumb Husky, you dare to cause trouble for me with that 3-inch nail of yours? Come, I will let you know what it means to be the #1 eunuch of the shifters. The world channel instantly quieted down. No one shouted anymore. They were all staring blankly at the unusual content on the world channel. After a while, someone shouted again on the world channel. What the F asterisk CK? Am I seeing things? Someone is calling me that? Are they still humans? Shifters? You're right. What the F asterisk CK? What's going on? Don't tell me these three are all mentally ill? They're definitely idiots who escaped from a mental hospital. What the F asterisk CK? There's no cure for their idiocy. Tis TSK, what shifters? Why don't you call yourself an idiot instead? In the world channel, many people began to mock these three people who suddenly appeared and called themselves shifters. However, some people took this seriously. They all frowned and pondered. Some even held meetings to discuss these three people. Yi-chun did not open the world channel, so he naturally did not know about this. However, this was not important. What was important was that even without opening the world channel, Yi-chun knew that the shifters were about to appear, whether it was in the game or in reality. In reality, due to the existence of the safe zone, the shifters could not do anything to humans. However, they would occasionally loiter around the safe zone, waiting for an opportunity to strike. In the game, the Yellow Turban Rebellion would begin soon. The shifters would also move out in full force at that moment and sweep the world. Chapter 56. Samsara Town, Mayor's Mansion. Yi-chun, who heard the world announcement, smiled and looked at the recruitment hall blueprint in his hand. Recruitment hall, unique after construction, it can be used once a month. Every time one person appears, they will automatically join the territory. 80% chance of ordinary historical figures appearing. 60% chance of third-rate historical figures appearing. 30% chance of second-rate historical figures appearing. 10% chance of first-rate historical figures appearing. 1% chance of super first-rate historical figures appearing. 1% chance of special characters appearing. After reading the introduction of the recruitment hall, Yi-chun's eyes widened. He didn't expect the recruitment hall to be so heaven-defying. It was indeed heaven-defying. After a historical figure appeared, they would automatically join Samsara Town. Such a simple property saved Yi-chun the trouble of recruiting. It must be known that the conditions to recruit historical figures were more difficult than the previous. Now, as long as Samsara Town built the recruitment hall, it meant that a historical figure would appear in Samsara Town every month. And it would be a historical figure that would directly join Samsara Town. Even if it was an unrated historical figure, it would be of great use to the newly upgraded Samsara Town. In addition to construction, the territory also needed management. In terms of management, Yi Chun was the lord. Currently, he only had Zhao Heng and Zhao Meng under him. At this moment, Samsara Town had close to 50,000 soldiers. If it was just Yi Chun, Zhao Meng, and Zhao Heng managing it, there would be no problems. But when Samsara Town upgraded to a medium town and then to a large town, there would gradually be problems. And when Samsara Town upgraded to Samsara City, problems would erupt. So Yi Chun was quite eager for historical figures at this moment. More importantly, because of the god-level village creation token's ability to gather luck, Yi Chun was destined to embark on the path of the emperor. And if he wanted this path to be smoother, he couldn't lack historical figures. Without loyal subordinates, Yi Chun's path to the emperor would not be able to continue. Now, with the recruitment hall, a historical figure would appear in Samsara Town every month. This immediately solved the problem that Yi Chun was about to face. As for choosing real humans as his subordinates, Yi Chun, who had been reborn, would not do so at all. People in the real world, especially after the world changed, had too many uncertainties. There were betrayals and conspiracies everywhere. Yi Chun didn't want others to pick up the fruits of his labor after he had conquered a piece of the world. Phew! Yi Chun let out a long sigh and handed the recruitment hall, only one, to Zhao Heng. Send more people. The recruitment hall must be built as soon as possible. The moment Yi Chun finished speaking, Zhao Heng hurriedly bowed and answered, "Yes, my lord. Your subordinate will immediately send people to build the recruitment hall." Yi Chun nodded, and Zhao Heng hurriedly left the mayor's mansion with the recruitment hall, the only one. At this moment, Yi Chun looked at the foundation stone of Samsara Town, the golden stone tablet. In the next second, Samsara Town's stats appeared before Yi Chun's eyes. Reincarnation Town, God-tier town, the world's first town. Increases the attraction of historical figures by 10%. Basic stats: territory stability plus 60, territory resident satisfaction plus 60, territory resources plus 500%, territory agricultural output plus 500%, territory fishing output plus 500%, territory residents' attractiveness to refugees plus 300%, territory residents' aptitude plus 2. Special feature 1, Holy Land. Territory residents' aptitude increases by 50%. Special feature 2, Blessed Land. A random grade of spiritual medicine will appear every month. Special feature 3, Fate. Automatically gathers the fate of heaven and earth. Increases the cultivation speed and aptitude of the territory residents. Increases as the territory increases. Special feature 4, Ascension. Gathers the fate of heaven and earth. Dominates the world. Allows the whole country to ascend to the wilderness. Territory resources: stone, asterisk, asterisk. Wood, asterisk, asterisk. Iron, asterisk, asterisk. Food, asterisk, asterisk. Money, 92 million gold. Increase the attraction of historical figures by 10%. Yi Chun was slightly stunned, and then nodded with satisfaction. An increase of 10% didn't seem like much, but in fact, it had an effect that couldn't be ignored. "Big brother, congratulations." Zhao Yu's voice sounded at this moment. Zhao Yu walked out of the bedroom when she heard that Zhao Heng had left. Yi Chun heard Zhao Yu's voice and couldn't help but smile. He then turned around and walked to Zhao Yu's side. He gently held Zhao Yu in his arms and asked, "Reincarnation Village has become Reincarnation Town. Let go around." "Yes." Zhao Yu blushed and replied softly. Yi Chun laughed and then took Zhao Yu's hand and walked out. At this moment, the mayor's mansion had changed from a hut to a big house with 2 entrances and 2 exits. There was a wing in the front yard and a large living room in the middle. There was a small two-story building in the backyard and a side room in the east and west. There was a corridor between the front and the backyard, and there was a pavilion in the east and west. The whole building had an antique feel to it. The only thing lacking was that it lacked vitality, because there were no flowers, plants, or servants. Yi Chen left the mayor's mansion with Zhao Yu and came to the street. He couldn't help but be stunned. Chapter 57. The streets of Reincarnation Town were decorated with lanterns and colored banners. It was a festive atmosphere. The townspeople, whether male or female, old or young, were all wearing new clothes without exception. Their faces were full of joy. They were talking and laughing, discussing family matters, children being naughty, and laughing from time to time. They were in groups of 3 to 5. Although they were not polite, they were very harmonious. This is Yi Chen thought in surprise. The townspeople noticed Yi Chen one by one and surrounded him. Congratulations, Lord! Reincarnation Village has been upgraded to Reincarnation Town. Congratulations, Lord! Reincarnation Village has been upgraded to Reincarnation Town. Congratulations, Lord! Reincarnation Village has been upgraded to Reincarnation Town. Cheers sounded one after another. Only then did Yi Chen realize what was going on. It was the townspeople spontaneously celebrating the upgrade of Reincarnation Village to Reincarnation Town. For a moment, Yi Chen felt warm in his heart. There was only one premise for such a situation to occur. The townspeople had to treat Reincarnation Town as their roots. Otherwise, there would never be such a spontaneous celebration. Thinking of this, Yi Chen smiled and said, "Today is Reincarnation Day. You are all the cornerstones of Reincarnation Town. You are all the cornerstones of Reincarnation Town. With you here, Reincarnation Town can be what it is today. I announce that the town will celebrate for a day. All expenses are waived. Lord is mighty. Lord is mighty. Lord is mighty." The townspeople were stunned at first. Then they shouted excitedly one by one. The townspeople were not excited because Yi Chen said that all expenses were waived, but because Yi Chen said the word cornerstone. There were thousands of words, but it was nothing more than recognition. Yi Chen recognized the townspeople's contributions. He recognized everything that the townspeople had contributed since the establishment of the village. Although Yi Chen was exaggerating, because many things were obtained by Yi Chen, but there was one thing that Yi Chen did not exaggerate. Whether it was a village, a town, a city, or even an empire, the power of the people could not be ignored. Commoners were the foundation of a territory or even an empire. Only when there were enough commoners would there be all sorts of possibilities. The strength of an empire was related to its peak combat power, but at the same time, it was also related to its citizens. The soldiers and generals came from the common people, and the officials came from the common people. Without the common people, even the strongest empire would be rootless duckweed. Yi Chen brought Zhao Yu along and had some fun with the townspeople. Then, they ran to the lake in the Reincarnation Valley to have some alone time. Yi Chen looked at the clouds in the sky, felt the breeze blowing by the lakeside, smelled the fragrance of the flowers and Zhao Yu in the air, and stretched himself. "Zhao Yu, did you know that I never thought that I would be able to achieve what I have today? This is all because of Big Brother. I believe that Big Brother's achievements will be even higher in the future." Zhao Yu looked at Yi Chen, who was resting on her lap, and smiled sweetly. Yi Chen was slightly taken aback and then fell silent. There were some things that Yi Chen could not say. Even if it was Zhao Yu, Yi Chen could not say it. This was because Yi Chen's rebirth was a huge secret. Not a single word could be said. "Big Brother?" Zhao Yu saw that Yi Chen did not speak and was momentarily taken aback. She thought that Yi Chen did not want to hear what she said, so she could not help but call out worriedly, "Don't call me Big Brother. Call me by my name. With our relationship, it is not right to call me Big Brother." Yi Chen let out a long sigh and then said with a smile. Yi Chen's emotions only lasted for a moment. He still had a long way to go. Naturally, he would not be lost. "Yi Chen," Zhao Yu was slightly taken aback and called out hesitantly. It was not that she could not say it, but that she was not used to such a big change in Yichun. I just thought of something. Don't think too much. You are right. Everything that I have now was fought for by me. In the future, my achievements will be even higher, and I will stand even higher. When Yi Chan said this, an incomparably domineering confidence surged out in an instant, as if it was going to pierce through the sky. Yes, I believe that you can definitely do it. Zhao Yu looked at the domineering Yi Chun and could not help but fall into a daze for a moment. After a while, she nodded heavily and said this. Ha! Yi Chun looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. His laughter was domineering and carefree. Yi Chun laughed for a while, then stood up directly. He hugged Zhao Yu and kissed her fiercely. After a long time, Yi Chun finally let go. Then, he looked at the blushing Zhao Yu and said seriously, "No matter where I am in the future, you will always be my first woman." When Yi Chen's domineering and straightforward words fell, Zhao Yu was first stunned, then her face instantly turned red. She turned her head sideways, not daring to look at Yi Chen, let alone answer. "In the future, you will live at my place." That's settled. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows and said domineeringly. After that, he directly carried Zhao Yu and walked towards the mayor's mansion. However, on the way, Yi Chun put Zhao Yu down. Yi Chun could ignore etiquette, but Yi Chun could not ignore Zhao Yu's feelings. When they arrived at the gate of Samsara town, Yi Chun could not help but stop. Thousands of refugees appeared here, and Zhao Hong was leading people to register the refugees at the city gate. Chapter 58. This is, Yi Chun was stunned for a moment before he remembered the previous world announcement. Samsara town was the world's #1 town. The reward was a 10 times increase in refugee spawn rate for 3 days. 10 times faster spawn rate, plus the 3 times faster spawn rate from the God-level village creation token. That was a total of 30 times. In a town-level territory, 100 to 200 refugees would spawn every day. When it came to Samsara town, it was the maximum value. After the stats were stacked, the number of refugees spawned reached a terrifying 6,000 people. And this was only for 1 day. The system reward was for 3 days. After 3 days, the population of Samsara town would increase by 18,000 people. Thinking of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but smile. The more people a territory had, the better. This was a huge boost to the territory's development. The newly spawned refugees looked at the huge Samsara town. Some of them were anxious and some of them were scared. But when it came to the refugees, it could be summed up as confusion, worry, and fear. They were refugees. When they came to Samsara town, they could be rejected, driven away, or even forced to do hard labor. This was what they were worried about and what many refugees were afraid of. At this moment, Zhao Hong saw Yi Chun. He hurriedly put down his brush and ran in front of Yi Chun. He bowed and said, "Greetings, Lord." Yi Chun smiled and said, "Call more people and register them. Also, send some people to cook more food. These people will be Samsara town's residents. We can't let them starve. Prioritize the children and the elderly." "Yes, Lord." When Zhao Hong heard this, he hurriedly bowed and replied. The refugees at the side naturally heard Yi Chen's words. They also knew what Zhao Hong meant by Lord. They were all stunned. They had never met a lord like Yi Chen who was so easy to talk to. What did they hear? Samsara town's residents. They were all Samsara town's residents. Moreover, they were going to cook for them and prioritize the elderly and children. After a short moment of silence, the refugees knelt down and shouted, "Thank you, Lord! Thank you, Lord!" Their voices were not in sync. It was very messy, but everyone was shouting with all their might. It didn't matter if it was a man, a woman, an old man, or a child. Everyone had a grateful expression on their faces, and within the gratitude, there was a strong sense of excitement and rejoicing. They were grateful to Yi Chun for treating them as human beings. They were grateful to Yi Chun for providing them with food and clothing. They were even more grateful to Yi Chun for taking care of the children and the elderly. They were excited because they had been accepted. They could become townsfolk of Samsara town. They didn't have to worry about being chased out, beaten, or even forced to do hard labor. They were glad that they had come to Samsara town. Otherwise, they didn't know what kind of situation they would have encountered. There were too many of them, a total of 6,000 people. No matter where these people were placed, they would be refused entry into the city. They might even be chased away, because that was what many officials did, and they often did so. The officials did not allow vagrants to appear in their territory. But now they were at ease. Hearing the grateful cries of the vagrants, Yi Chun sighed inwardly. He then looked at Zhao Heng and ordered, after registering, remember to build houses as soon as possible. There are so many people all of a sudden. It's easy to catch a cold if you sleep in the open space at night. Yes, Lord. Zhao Heng replied with a smile. Yi Chun nodded and then continued. That's right. After you're done here, take some people to measure the fields. Every household will be given 5 mu of land based on the number of people they have. The soldiers of Samsara town will each receive 5 mu of land, and they will be divided according to their ranks. An ordinary soldier will receive 5 mu of land. A sergeant will receive 10 mu of land. A centurion will receive 100 mu, and a chiliarch will receive 1,000 mu. Zhao Heng was stunned when he heard Yi Chun's words, because Yi Chun's rewards were unbelievably generous. At this moment, Yi Chun looked at Zhao Heng and said with a smile, You have been busy since the establishment of Samsara town. Your contributions are not small. In addition to the 5 mu of land, I will also reward you with 1,000 mu of land. Lord, how can this old man? Zhao Heng was stunned at first. Then he hurriedly bowed and shouted. But before he could finish, he was interrupted by Yi Chun. This is actually very little. I am still looking forward to you making greater contributions to Samsara town. Tell me, can you do it? Yi Chun's slightly serious words made Zhao Heng forget to refuse. He straightened his expression, bowed again, and shouted, I can do it. Very good. Yi Chun nodded with satisfaction and then said, As for Zhao Meng, I will temporarily give him 10,000 mu. In the future, it will depend on his performance. If he performs well, the reward will be increased. If not, I will punish him severely. The other soldiers will also do the same. If that bastard dares to not perform well, Lord, I will break his legs. When Zhao Heng heard this, he immediately expressed his stance and spoke righteously. When Yi Chun heard this, the corner of his mouth twitched. He then turned his head and did not look at Zhao Heng. At the side, Zhao Yu directly lowered her head at this moment. She was helpless. Zhao Heng was stunned at first. Then he laughed a few times and said, I will go first. After Zhao Heng finished speaking, he hurriedly left the place. However, he realized that there was something wrong with what he had just said. Yi Chun shook his head helplessly, then looked at Zhao Yu and said, Let's go back. Zhao Yu was about to speak when a figure suddenly rushed out from among the refugees. Yi Chun pulled Zhao Yu behind him. With a wave of his right hand, the God-Slayer instantly appeared and pointed at the person who suddenly rushed over. A violent, murderous aura instantly erupted from Yi Chun's body. Someone actually dared to rush over and even scared Zhao Yu. This made Yi Chun very angry. Moreover, the speed at which this person came out was too fast. He was at least in the Khanate realm. Therefore, Yi Chun's murderous aura erupted without restraint. Just as Yi Chun was about to kill this person with one shot, a somewhat embarrassed voice suddenly came from the person who rushed out. Don't misunderstand. I want to ask you something. It was only then that Yi Chun realized that the person who rushed out did not have the slightest murderous aura. It was just that this person was too *King ugly. If there is only one word to describe this person, it would be that he was burly. Even his face was burly. What kind of existence was he? A judge of the underworld. Even the little ghosts saw him as a handsome man. Yi Chun did not have the slightest bit of disgust. He was just curious how there could be such an ugly person in this world. Chapter 59. At this moment, the refugees suddenly surrounded the burly man and gnashed their teeth as they glared at him. It was as if they were going to eat him alive if he didn't agree with them. The burly man was even more embarrassed now. He scratched the back of his head and looked at the refugees. He tried his best to speak in a gentle tone. Don't misunderstand me. I really don't mean any harm. I just want to ask the Lord something. When Yi-chun saw the refugees coming over and surrounding the burly man, he couldn't help but feel warm in his heart. With a thought, he withdrew the God-slayer and exhaled. He looked at the burly man and asked, What do you want to ask? You said that we would be divided into soldiers. Is that true or false? The burly man looked at Yi-chun and asked bluntly, You idiot! How dare you use such a tone? Zhao Heng's angry words suddenly rang out. Yi-chun raised his hand to stop Zhao Heng from continuing. Then, he looked at the man who was shockingly handsome and nodded. I'm telling the truth. Also, there's one more thing I forgot to mention. In the Samsara territory, the tax will always be 10%. It will be the same in the years of good harvests. In the years of disaster, it will be reduced according to the situation. When Yi-chun said this, he saw that the burly man was stunned for a moment. He then continued, Then, can you tell me now what you want to do by asking me this? Be a soldier? Don't tell me you're a soldier material. You're not. As soon as Yi-chun finished speaking, the man's anger surged up, and the aura on his body rose steadily. Yi-chun's words seriously provoked him. No matter how he heard it, he felt that Yi-chun looked down on him and thought that he was worse than trash. The surrounding refugees were all frightened by the man's violent aura and involuntarily took a few steps back. However, they immediately surrounded the burly man again and fearlessly surrounded him. This was because they remembered Yi-chun's words. The tax will always be 10%. In the years of disaster, it will be reduced and reduced. There are also generous rewards for being a soldier. The people of this era valued the land more than their lives, and Yi-chun's promise had undoubtedly won their hearts. They did not want their lord to be harmed in the slightest. If that happened, they didn't know what their lives would be like. Therefore, even though they were afraid, they still surrounded him, gritting their teeth and not fearing death. That was because the burly man's aura was becoming more and more berserk. He was simply like a ferocious beast from the wilderness. The refugees had no choice but to boost their courage. Just as the burly man's eyes were bloodshot and he was about to explode, Yi-chun suddenly smiled and asked, What's the matter? Your martial arts are not bad. Why do you only want to be a soldier and not a general? When a man heard this, his aura instantly dissipated. Then, he stared blankly at Yi-chun. The refugees were also stunned. The same question had flashed through their minds. That was, this burly man in front of them looked like a ferocious person. Why did their lord say that he was not suited to be a soldier? But now, the refugees reacted. Yi-chun was not mocking this unbelievably ugly man. Instead, he was wondering why this man did not want to be a general. The refugees immediately relaxed. This was because the burly man had a blank look on his face and the berserk aura on his body had completely disappeared. Obviously, he had misunderstood Yi-chun like them. Oh, what? You don't want to be a general under me? Yi-chun glared at the man and asked, Can I? The man scratched the back of his head and asked, not knowing what to do. You think you're bad? You look down on yourself so much. Yi-chun's eyes narrowed as he shouted in a deep voice. No, I do not look down on myself. I joined the army, but no one called me a general. They only called me a soldier. They even complained that I could eat. The burly man immediately said loudly, but his voice became softer towards the end. When Yi-chun heard this, he was stunned. This shouldn't be. Xiantian realm cultivators were not cabbages that could be found everywhere. Wait a minute. If not for this, I might not have met this guy. Thinking of this, Yi-chun could not help but smirk. He then opened his mouth and said, If you have the talent to lead troops, I will let you lead troops in a battle. If you only have martial strength, then I will let you be my personal guard. Now, tell me your choice. I will be your personal guard. The burly man said without hesitation. When Yi-chun heard the man's words, he was stunned again. He could not help but feel disappointed. What Yi-chun urgently needed now was a general who could lead troops in a battle, not a personal guard. But disappointment was disappointment. Yi-chun naturally would not reveal it. Even if he was a personal guard, he could still bring him into battle. Moreover, from the aura that the man had just released, Yi Chan was very sure that this man was very strong. In that case, tell me your name. Yi Chan nodded his head and said, Dian Wei. The burly man replied loudly. Yi Chan nodded. Then he was stunned. He hurriedly looked at the man and asked, What did you say your name was? Dian Wei. When Dian Wei heard this, his expression suddenly changed. He hesitated for a moment and then said, You are Dian Wei? Chun Liuji is one of us. Yi Chun hurriedly asked with a fervent expression. As soon as Yi Chun finished speaking, a powerful aura suddenly emerged from Dian Wei's body. He looked at Yi Chun as if he was looking at a stranger, and he became more and more vigilant. When Yi Chun saw this, he was stunned. Then, he remembered something about Dian Wei's past. According to historical records, Dian Wei had killed an official and became a hero. Later on, he followed Cao Cao and was extremely loyal. His martial prowess was ranked third in the Three Kingdoms period. The ranking of generals had always been controversial, but this was not important. What was important was that Yi Chun knew why Dian Wei had suddenly become a completely different person. Thinking of this, Yi Chun immediately confirmed the identity of the man in front of him. It was the one recorded in history, Chun Liu Dian Wei. The heavens are helping me. After thinking, Yi Chun ignored Dian Wei's vigilant gaze and said directly, There's one thing that I need to make clear to you. Dian Wei looked at Yi Chun and nodded expressionlessly, silently waiting for Yi Chun to continue. If Yi Chun had not left a good impression on Dian Wei would have run away or even killed someone. Samsara Town is not a place where you can join or leave as you wish. I don't care who you were or what you did before. As long as you join Samsara Town, you're a member of Samsara Town. That is the case in life and death. At this point, Yi Chun narrowed his eyes and continued, I hate betrayal the most. Anyone who betrays me will not rest until they are dead, even if they are at the end of the world. Dian Wei was slightly stunned when he heard this. Then he stared at Yi Chun. After a while, Dian Wei withdrew his vigilant gaze. Then, with a plop, he knelt on one knee and shouted, Dian Wei of Chun Lu pays respects to my lord. Chapter 60. Ding. Superclass Historical General, Dian Wei, wishes to acknowledge you as his master. Will you accept? The system prompt instantly rang out in Yi Chen's mind. Damn, was there even need to ask? Accept. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Chun for obtaining the allegiance of Superclass Historical General, Dian Wei. As the system prompt ended, the world announcement instantly rang out. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Chun for being the first to obtain the allegiance of Superclass Historical General, Dian Wei. Rewards to player Yi Chun plus 5 million reputation points and 10 million gold taels. Ding. Congratulations to player Yi Chun for being the first to obtain the allegiance of Superclass Historical General, Dian Wei. Rewards to player Yi Chun plus 5 million reputation points and 10 million gold taels. The instant the world announcement rang out, the world channel exploded. Yi Chun. It's Yi Chun again. Oh, there's no justice. What did I just hear? Damn. Damn. That's Dian Wei. Dian Wei. Damn. Dian Wei is ranked second in the Three Kingdoms War. He's definitely an awesome existence. Bullshit. The great Zhao Yun, am ranked second. Bullshit. Zhao Yun is ranked first. He's ranked first. Damn, why? I haven't even seen the hair of a historical figure, but now someone has directly obtained the allegiance of a superclass historical general, and it's Dian Wei. Damn, you bunch of trash. How can you understand Boss Yi Chen's awesomeness? I'm Yi Chen's cousin's nephew. If you want the game's secret manual, hurry up and find me. I'll only sell it to the first 10 people, 1 million gold taels each. Yi Chun, the exchange service has opened. Credits can be exchanged for gold. 1 billion credits. As long as you're willing to transfer Dian Wei. I'll give you 1 billion credits. 2 billion. Yi Chun, transfer Dian Wei to me. I'll give you 2 billion credits. 10 billion. Yi Chun, as long as you're willing to sell Dian Wei, I'll give you 10 billion credits. Yi-chun, I order you to contribute Dianwei. For the sake of the people, this is what you must do. Yi-chun, hand Dianwei over to me. I'll give you the rank of Major General. There were all sorts of comments on the World Channel, but most of them were people who had designs on Dianwei. Unfortunately, Yi-chun did not open the World Channel. Even if he did, he would not care about these idiots. At this moment, a message suddenly appeared on the World Channel. Then, the World Channel went silent. Who is Dianwei? Does his meat taste good? Tell Lord Dopey. Also, where's that dog's hit Yi-chun? Whoever tells Lord Dopey will be worry-free in real life. 3 seconds later, another foreign language appeared in the World Channel. Grandpa Pig can also guarantee that you'll be worry-free in real life. As long as you tell Grandpa Pig about that brat Yi-chun, Grandpa Pig wants the exact location. Granny Cat is here. I'm very interested in that Yi-chun. Whoever can tell Granny Cat about him, I can also guarantee his safety in real life. Motherf asterisk cur. F asterisk king pig. Stinky cat. Just you wait. If Lord Dopey doesn't kill the two of you, Lord Dopey is your pet. Stupid Dopey Husky. Stupid Dopey Husky. F asterisk CK. You two, just wait. The World Channel went silent again. After a while, it regained its liveliness. F asterisk CK. Why do I have a feeling that these three lunatics aren't lunatics? What are you talking about? If these three aren't lunatics, what are they? F asterisk CK. Don't forget that we're living in a safe zone. Yeah, although there are quite a few big wild beasts outside, they can't enter at all. They'll be struck by lightning the moment they enter. Why bother with those three idiots? One look, and you can tell they're posturing. Being a retard is an illness. It needs to be treated. You can't stop taking your medicine. People began to mock the three mutated species. One after another, it was very lively. However, there was still a group of people who no longer participated in the World Channel's discussions. Among them, there were some who began to take the three mutated species seriously and began to study them. This was because the three mutated species once called themselves demons. In Eastern mythology, demons existed. If they were lunatics, some people would still think so at first. However, when the three mutated species once again shouted on the World Channel, it aroused the suspicions of many people, as well as some unbelievable speculations. Perhaps the demons had really appeared. After all, the changes in the real world could not be explained by science. Who would have thought that firearms would one day lose their effectiveness? No, even if it did, it was only a fantasy of a small group of people. But in the end, firearms really did lose their effectiveness. Who would have thought that the world would change beyond recognition in just a few days? Who would have thought that reinforced concrete buildings would suddenly become rotten? Who would have thought that the animals of the past would become irritable, huge, bloodthirsty, and stronger? In the end, all the impossible happened. Therefore, it was not impossible for the demons to really appear. Some people began to accept this point of view, and they began to try to investigate the wild beasts outside the safe zones. Among those who no longer paid attention to the World Channel, other than the group of people who wanted to investigate the truth of the demons, the rest were determined to continue to target Yi-chun. They constantly sent more people to investigate in the real world, in their respective safe zones, hoping to find Yi-chun first. They did not even give up on the game world. Compared to before, they were crazily investing money in the game to buy information about Yi-chun and to find out everything about Yi-chun. Previously, when Yi-chun made one World Channel announcement after another, many people wanted to find Yi-chun. Now that Yi-chun had taken in Dianwei, it made people even more jealous. Everyone wanted to find Yi-chun. Among them, the major factions were the most anxious and invested the most. Many factions even sent people to Yuzhou and Bingzhou to find out the exact location of Samsara Town. Yi-chun did not know about this. Even if he knew, Yi-chun would not care. This was because it was only a matter of time. Yi-chun had already expected it. This kind of thing had happened many times in his previous life. Even without the memories of his previous life, Yi-chun could guess. As long as it involved benefits, people would go crazy. The greater the benefits, the more crazy people would go. Yi Chun had made countless World Channel announcements, and now he had obtained the loyalty of the superclass historical general, Dian Wei. It was obvious that Yi Chun was the benefit in everyone's eyes. Find Yi Chun, contact Yi Chun by the secrets of the game, and by Dian Wei. They even wanted to control Yi Chun and snatch everything from him. These were the thoughts of many people at the moment. However, these people did not know what kind of existence Yi Chun's Samsara town was. They also did not know what Xiantian realm, king-level generals, and superclass historical generals represented. Chapter 61. Reincarnation Town, City Gates. After hearing the world announcement, Yi Chun raised his eyebrows. He hadn't expected to receive a reward of 5 million reputation and 10 million taels of gold for taking in a historical general. Seeing Dian Wei kneeling on one knee, Yi Chun laughed in embarrassment. He walked over to Dian Wei and helped Dian Wei up. From now on, you are the commander of my personal guards. Yi Chun looked at Dian Wei and said happily, "My lord, does that mean I have 5 mu of land?" After Dian Wei got up, Yi Chun was stunned when he heard this. 5 mu is too much. Then I can have 4 mu. That should be enough to fill my stomach, Dian Wei said, scratching his head when he saw that Yi Chun didn't reply. Bastard, my personal guard commander is only worth 5 mu of land? Yi Chun's face darkened when he heard this. He glared at Dian Wei and shouted, "Then how much is it worth? I haven't made any contributions yet." 5 mu is already good enough, Dian Wei said, somewhat confused. Yi Chun couldn't help but laugh helplessly at Dian Wei's words. Shaking his head, Yi Chun straightened his face and said in a deep voice, "What? 5 mu? Everyone in Samsara town will be given 5 mu of land. You are the commander of my personal guards. Even if I give you a salary of 1,000 gold coins and 10,000 mu of land, I will still feel that I have wronged you." Dian Wei was stunned. Then, waves of warmth appeared in his heart. Although Yi Chun's words were crude and Dian Wei wasn't very smart, he could hear the meaning behind Yi Chun's words. He didn't expect Yi Chun to value him so much. The ancients valued righteousness and promises. Since Yi Chun said it, Dian Wei believed it to be true. Moreover, Dian Wei did not think that Yi Chun was lying. Therefore, he was touched and his heart felt warm. He knew that he was strong, but he had been in the army before and had never been put in an important position. For the sake of his friend, he killed an official and had no choice but to leave his hometown. He had to make a living from place to place, but he was unable to settle down. Today, he came to Samsara town and met Yi Chun, who ignored his past and regarded him with great importance. Dian Wei took a deep breath and exhaled. He gave Yi Chun a serious look and then knelt down heavily on one knee. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Dian Wei swears to follow my lord to death. If I break this oath, may the heavens strike me down. Dian Wei raised his right hand and raised 3 fingers as he roared. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Chun and Dian Wei for advancing to die loyal. Dian Wei, Super Historical General, Saint Level General, Aptitude, SSS Grade Sealed, Loyalty, Die Loyal Martial Strength, 99, Post-Celestial Full Circle, Bone Frame, 97 Mental Strength, 91 Fortune, Hidden Cultivation Technique, Xiantian Technique, Incomplete, Saint Level, Technique, 9 Serenity's Halberd Technique, Incomplete, Saint Level, Equipment, none. Yi Chun was slightly surprised, but then he happily helped Dian Wei up. His aptitude was sealed, and he was still at SSS grade. This meant that Dian Wei's aptitude was very strong. For his own subordinates, especially those loyal to him, the stronger the aptitude, the better. Yi Chun looked at Dian Wei's ugly face and said seriously, "You don't have to swear. I believe you." Dian Wei was about to speak when his face suddenly changed. At this moment, a muffled thunder sounded. Rumble. The sound was very loud, and the source of the sound was Dian Wei. "My lord, I'm hungry." Dian Wei noticed that Yi Chun was stunned and hurriedly explained. Let's go and drink." Yi Chun laughed and patted Dian Wei's shoulder. "My lord, Just prepare some wine for me. I ate a little too much. Dian Wei was slightly surprised. He didn't expect Yi Chan to be so approachable. He couldn't help but feel warm in his heart as he spoke. When Yi Chan heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. He helplessly shook his head and said, Dian Wei, do you really think that your lord is a miser? You won't even let your subordinates eat their fill? No, my lord, I really ate too much. Dian Wei hurriedly shook his head and said, You ate a lot? How much can it be? Even if you eat 10,000 gold today, I won't even frown. Yi Chen glared at Dian Wei, then looked at Zhao Yu. Before Yi Chen could speak, Zhao Yu smiled. Business is more important. I'll go home first. Yi Chen nodded, then looked at Dian Wei and said, Why aren't you following? I want to see how much you can eat today. My lord, I really ate too much. Dian Wei scratched the back of his head embarrassedly. After speaking, he followed Yi Chen back to Samsara town. After passing through the town gate, they arrived at the tavern. Yi Chen waved his hand and said, Bring out all the good wine and dishes. Also, tell the kitchen to continue cooking. Serve them when they're done. Don't stop until I say stop. The tavern owner naturally recognized Yi Chen. Speaking of which, it was Yi Chen's first time eating here. Who would have thought that Yi Chen would be so domineering as soon as he entered? The tavern owner was so frightened that he trembled. He thought that he had done something wrong and offended Yi Chen. Yi Chen was looking for trouble. Just as the tavern owner was scared out of his wits, Yi Chen realized that his words were ambiguous. Moreover, the tavern owner was so frightened that he didn't dare to move. He couldn't help but cough and say, Today, Samsara town has a new peerless warrior. His appetite is huge. Go and prepare it quickly. When the tavern owner heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief. A smile appeared on his face. Then he bowed and said, My lord, I'll go and prepare it immediately. Yi Chen nodded, then looked at Dian Wei and asked in confusion, Dian Wei, why is your cultivation technique incomplete? Dian Wei's attribute panel clearly indicated that his cultivation technique was incomplete. But even so, it was still a saint-level cultivation technique. This was also what Yi Chen was curious about. If it was a complete cultivation technique, it would at least be a god-level cultivation technique. It might even surpass the god level and become an innate level cultivation technique. My lord, I don't know. I learned it in a cave when I was fighting a tiger in the mountains. At that time, I fainted. When I woke up, I learned it. Dian Wei scratched the back of his head and said, What a blessing. Yi Chen was slightly stunned. He couldn't help but smile. Then he asked, What about your weapon? I'm poor and can't afford a weapon. While I was in the army, I could still play with it. After leaving the army, I don't have a weapon. Dian Wei said gloomily. No weapon? Yi Chen was stunned. He didn't expect that Dian Wei didn't have a weapon. According to historical records, he used a pair of iron halberds. Dian Wei nodded and said, Yes, my lord. Wait a moment. Yi Chen remembered that he had obtained a mace when he killed General Wu Huan and couldn't help but say this. With that, Yi Chen used his mind, and the mace instantly appeared in Yi Chen's hand. Mace, mystic made entirely out of mystic iron. Due to poor craftsmanship, its grade is lowered by 1 level. Take it and use it first. If you don't like it, go to the blacksmith to melt it down and reforge the weapon you want, Yi Chen said as he handed the mace to Dian Wei. Thank you, my lord. Dian Wei looked at the mace with shining eyes and said ecstatically. This time, Dian Wei didn't refuse and accepted it without hesitation. Generals had an unconcealable passion for weapons. Dian Wei was a general and a top-notch one at that. He was no exception. He could tell the quality of a weapon. Furthermore, Yi Chen actually allowed him to melt and reforge the mace. How could Dian Wei not be excited? Chapter 62. Just as Dian Wei was getting excited, the dishes were served. Gulp. Looking at the table full of delicious dishes, Dian Wei swallowed his saliva. Let's eat. Eat as much as you want. Yi Chen laughed and said, My lord, give me some more shamans, or we won't be able to fill our stomachs. Dian Wei nodded and said, Bring me some wine. Yi Chen ordered the tavern owner, who was standing by the side, waiting for orders. Yes, My lord, right away. The tavern owner hurriedly bowed and ran away. Not long after, a big pot of shamans was brought over by the waiter. When Dianwei saw it, he picked it up and ate it without hesitation. At first, Yi Chun didn't see anything, but soon, Yi Chun was stunned. Dianwei was holding the shamans in his left hand and chopsticks in his right. He ate the shamans and took a bite of the dishes. Crunch, crunch. A shaman's the size of a sandbag was gone, and so was a plate of delicate dishes. If this had already given Yi Chun a big surprise, then this was the first time he had seen such a scene. Dianwei, who let go of the food at first and then ate crazily, gave Yi Chun quite a shock. De Fan and the two directly poured the entire plate of food into their mouths and swallowed it down with a gulp. Yi Chun rubbed his eyes in disbelief and looked at Dianwei again. In the next second, Yi Chun's mouth twitched involuntarily. He was really swallowing. The shamans and dishes were all swallowed by Dianwei in one mouthful. In a short while, the table of shamans and dishes were all wiped out by Dianwei. Yi Chun looked at the tavern owner, who was shocked by Dianwei's eating manners, and ordered, "Go and prepare as much as you can." "Yes, yes, my lord." When the tavern owner heard Yi Chun's words, he immediately returned to his senses and hurriedly bowed in response. He then ran off to prepare the dishes with a shocked expression. "How is it? How much more can you eat?" Yi Chun looked at Dianwei curiously and asked. 7 or 8 more tables should be enough," Dianwei said as he scratched the back of his head with an embarrassed smile. Just when Yi Chun thought that Dianwei would be full after eating 7 or 8 more times, Dianwei continued to say, "Don't worry, I don't care. Half full is enough. That way, I will have the strength to protect my lord." F***CK. Yi Chun was stunned when he heard this. He looked at Dianwei in disbelief. Dianwei was simply a humanoid monster. How big was his stomach? "My lord, isn't it too much? Why don't we order all of them to be served?" Dianwei looked at Yi Chun's shocked expression and couldn't help but ask softly, "It's not much. Eat as much as you can. Since I, your lord, have said so, I will definitely let you eat until you are full. In the future, you will eat until you are full every day." Yi Chun returned to his senses, shook his head, and said with certainty, Then I will continue eating?" Dianwei nodded and asked, "Eat, you must eat. If you don't eat until you are full, how will you have the strength to protect your lord? You're not allowed to starve in the future. Do you hear me?" Yi Chun glared at Dianwei and said, I know. I will eat until I am full in the future." Dianwei nodded and said naively. Yi Chun nodded in satisfaction when he heard this. Soon, the tavern owner served the dishes. Dianwei, who had completely let go, once again displayed his domineering appetite. To describe Dianwei's table manners as a whirlwind was an insult to Dianwei. Dianwei's table manners were as shocking as his appearance. A table full of dishes, a big pot of wine, and a few mouthfuls of food. After a few breaths, it was all gone. Dianwei's frenzied eating was quickly discovered by the townsfolk of Samsara town. They stood and watched curiously from afar. This warrior is simply a glutton. Even a glutton cannot compare to him. Look, how much has he eaten? This is the 12th time. I think our lord has picked up a treasure. This warrior must be very strong. That's right. Look at who our lord is. How can his judgment be bad? That's right. I think this warrior has extraordinary looks and a stomach that can swallow the sky. In the future, he will definitely be invincible on the battlefield. That's right. Samsara town, under the leadership of our lord, will definitely become better and stronger. We will be happier and happier. This warrior eats too much. Only our lord can afford to raise him. If he was my son, I would not be able to raise him even if I work myself to death. Being able to eat is admirable. Do you know? This is what it means to be a capable person. Otherwise, why would our lord take a fancy to him and accept him as a personal commander? Speaking of personal guards, I don't know if Sir Monarch wants my son. How is your son's talent? I think he is a D class. D class? Don't even think about it. If our lord's army wants to enter, it will be at least A class. The townspeople discussed animatedly and quickly changed the topic. However, no one mocked Dian Wei. While Dian Wei was eating, the townspeople's discussion reached his ears. Good Lord, this guy was eating even more unscrupulously. He only stopped when Dian Wei finished the 18th table. Yi Chen laughed and then raised the wine glass to his mouth. He raised his head and drank it in one gulp. My lord, I'm full. When Dian Wei heard Yi Chen's laughter, he could not help but rub the back of his head in embarrassment. It's good that you're full. Let's go. I'll take you to see the future personal guards. Yi Chen patted Dian Wei's shoulder and said. The personal guard Yi Chen was referring to was naturally the Samsara Legion. The Samsara Legion had the characteristic of unlimited advancement. Yi Chen could lead it, but now that he had Dian Wei, Yi Chen planned to hand the Samsara Legion over to Dian Wei. Every single one of these historical generals had a hidden characteristic that could make their army stronger and more tyrannical. Dian Wei was a super-class historical general. Yi Chen naturally would not treat Dian Wei as his personal guard commander. That was just a name. In the end, Yi Chen still wanted to bring Dian Wei to the battlefield. Only the battlefield was the home of a general. Generals were born for the battlefield and died for the battlefield. Wealth and glory came from the battlefield. Chapter 63. Samsara Town, Drill Ground. When Yi Chen brought Dian Wei to the entrance of the drill ground, the Samsara Legion was carrying out their daily drill. When Yi Chen walked into the drill ground, the Samsara Legion quickly stopped. Swoosh! 4,000 Samsara Legion soldiers knelt down on one knee and shouted, Greetings, Lord! Yi Chen nodded and walked up to the platform. Dian Wei stood below the platform in front of the Samsara Legion. Today, I'm here for two things. Yi Chen looked at the soldiers of the Samsara Legion, who were covered in sweat, and nodded in satisfaction before opening his mouth to speak. There was silence below the platform. No one spoke, as they quietly waited for Yi Chen to continue. Yi Chen didn't put on any airs. After pausing for a moment, he raised a finger and continued. First, the Samsara Legion will officially be my personal guard from today onwards. As soon as Yi Chen finished speaking, the Samsara Legion soldiers all widened their eyes. Excitement and joy appeared in the eyes of every Samsara Legion soldier. They liked to follow their lord, Yi Chen, into battle. This was because Yi Chen was their lord and the founder of the Samsara Legion. At the same time, Yi Chen was also their idol. Yi Chen's domineering and ruthless fighting style had long been deeply imprinted in the hearts of the Samsara Legion soldiers. Now that they heard Yi Chen personally say that the Samsara Legion would officially be his personal guard from today onwards, they were naturally happy. Because this way, they could continue to follow their lord to the battlefield, to create glory, to create a legend. And this was also the thought of every Samsara Legion soldier. The Samsara Legion soldiers were very excited, but no one spoke. Only the sound of heavy breathing could be heard in the drill ground. Seeing this, Yi Chen smiled slightly, then raised a second finger and said, I'm sorry. Second, the commander of the Samsara Legion will be Dian Wei, Chun Lu. When the Samsara Legion soldiers heard this, they were all stunned. They didn't expect the Samsara Legion to have a commander, and one that they had never seen or even heard of. But soon, all the soldiers looked at Dian Wei, who was at the front of the formation. This was because Dian Wei came to the drill ground with Yi Chen. Dian Wei. Yi Chen looked at Dian Wei and shouted, Here! Dian Wei knelt on one knee and replied. When Dian Wei finished speaking, the Samsara Legion soldiers on the drill ground were all stunned. This was because Dian Wei's voice was so loud that it sounded like thunder. From today onwards, the Samsara Legion will be under your command. Are you confident that you can turn the Samsara Legion into an invincible legion? Yi Chen's eyes narrowed as he shouted. Dian Wei hammered his chest with his right fist. A loud bang resounded through the entire drill ground. I am confident, Dian Wei shouted without hesitation. Very good. I'll leave the Samsara Legion to you. Your mission is to train them as hard as you can. If you have any requests, feel free to look for Deputy Mayor Zhao Hong. I only have one request. Yichen paused here and looked at the soldiers of the Samsara Legion below the stage. Then he said, "You're right. As long as you don't die, you can do whatever you want. However, anyone who dares to back down will be expelled from the Samsara Legion." "As you wish," Dianwei replied loudly. Yichen nodded, then walked down the stage and left the drill ground. When training soldiers, other than killing, there was also training. Killing could rapidly raise a soldier's level and increase their strength on the surface. On the other hand, training could strengthen a soldier's foundation. Over time, there would be a qualitative change. Once the critical point was reached, the soldier's aptitude would increase and even break through to the next realm. And this was something that Sha Jian could not do. In order to make a soldier truly strong, both were indispensable. Yichun could also train soldiers, but Yichun did not have that much time to do so. Now that he had Dianwei, Yichun could naturally be a hands-off manager. Moreover, with Dianwei training the Samsara Legion, the soldiers could become stronger faster. This was not something that could be compared to self-training. Yichun was in a good mood as he came to the main street, paved with bricks, and looked at the townsfolk coming and going in the distance. This was because he had a superb historical general following him, and also because of this Samsara town that was full of vitality. "Sir Lord, these are the big carrots that my family planted. Please bring some back to eat." A childish greeting suddenly sounded. Yichun was slightly taken aback, then looked at the alley beside him. It was a little boy who was carrying a basket home. His basket was filled with juicy big carrots. Obviously, he had just returned from the fields and was about to go home when he saw Yichun. "Give me one. One is enough for me to eat. How about it?" Yichun smiled and said. Originally, Yichun wanted to refuse, but Yichun gave up on the idea when he saw the little boy's expectant expression. "Yes, yes, Sir Lord, this is big. I'll give you this." The little boy nodded excitedly and took out a big carrot from his basket and handed it to Yichun. Yichun took it and smiled as he patted the little boy's head. Then he said, "Since you gave me a present, I'll give you a present too. How about that?" Really?" The little boy was extremely excited when he heard this and stuttered. "Of course, my present is that you can make a wish and I'll help you fulfill it. How about that?" Yichun laughed and asked, Then, Sir Lord, can I learn to read?" The little boy asked nervously. Yichun was stunned when he heard this. Yichun thought of something that he had neglected. Damn it! The private school had been built, but there was no teaching material. No, he had to get some scholars and scholars back as soon as possible. Scholars and scholars seemed useless and could only be used to enlighten children. But the key was enlightenment. Refugees were one of the main sources of population in the territory. The other was the offspring of the residents. The newborns in the territory were not like adults. Their aptitude was fixed and could be changed. And the way to change it was through enlightenment. The more powerful the person was, the more powerful the newborn's aptitude would be. Thinking of this, Yi Chen's eyes flashed. Scholars and scholars were too weak. No, he had to find those historical figures. Luoyang, Yingchuan. Chapter 64. Sir Lord, can't I? The little boy asked cautiously. When he saw Yichun standing there in a daze, he thought that his request would make things difficult for Yichun. He couldn't help but feel nervous. After all, not everyone could study in this era. If one wanted to study, it would depend on whether the teacher would accept them. Moreover, if one wanted to study, they would at least need a teacher. However, there wasn't a single teacher in Samsara town. Yichun's train of thought was interrupted by the little boy's words, but he wasn't angry. Historical civil officials were harder to deal with than historical generals. Although they didn't have much fighting strength, they were all proud and unyielding. It was not that there were no historical officials with no backbone, but there were very few of them. Furthermore, this was not what Yichun wanted. Yichun let out a long breath, then smiled, rubbed the little boy's head, and said, "Of course you can. However, it will take some time. When I invite the teacher over, you can go to school." "That's great. Thank you, Sir Lord." The little boy shouted excitedly. "Let's go home. By the way, thank you for the radish." Yichun smiled, then shook the radish in his hand. "Yes, if Sir Lord likes it, just send someone over. I'll bring the biggest and best radish for Sir Lord." The little boy nodded and said seriously, "Send someone." When Yi Chun heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. Then he smiled. This little guy reminded me that the cottage will become a mansion, and later on, it will become a mansion. The further I go, the bigger the place will be. I have to find some servants. Thinking of this, Yi Chun nodded and said, "All right. When I feel like eating, I'll send someone to find you." "Yes, Sir Lord, I'm going home," the little boy said happily. Yi Chun nodded. The little boy then bowed to Yi Chun, then walked home happily. Looking at the little boy's happy expression, Yi Chun couldn't help but smile, then let out a long breath. Historical civil officials. The difficulty of taking them in was truly not an easy task. Thinking of this, Yi Chun looked at his attribute panel. Yi Chun, first Viscount title, Spear God, characteristics. When using spear-type weapons, attack power x2, accuracy x2, comprehension plus 100, king-level generals. Level, 95 reputation, 6, 35 million merit, 2, 39 million force, 92 bone frame, 88 spirit, 100 luck, hidden cultivation method, 9 revolutions mysterious art, chaos, Shunshao imperial thunder technique, chaos. Technique, basic spear technique, divine level, equipment, Godslayer, damaged, natural cardinal treasure, black cloud armor, mysterious, genuine. Money, 20. 62 million gold items. Mountain shaking art, king tier, genuine. Thunderclap spear, profound tier, genuine. Luminous pearl, top quality. X36, luminous pearl, perfect. X1, copper sparrow pavilion, blueprint SSS grade. Yang returning pill, X1. 100 boxes of jewelry, general soul, king tier. X1, barbaric bull technique, king tier. X1. Being a first-rank Viscount of the Empire was an ordinary title. It wasn't very attractive to historical officials, but it wasn't too difficult to obtain. However, it wasn't so easy for those first-rate and super first-rate existences. Thinking of this, Yi Chun was suddenly stunned. He then looked at the item column in the attribute panel again. Luminous pearl, perfect rare treasure, priceless. Luminous pearl, top quality rare treasure. Not many exist in this world. Seeing these two items, Yi Chun's lips curled up. Then his eyes flashed. Attracting historical officials was nothing more than official position, reputation, and power. In terms of power, Samsara Town was the #1 town in the world. Its reputation was widespread. Although Samsara Town couldn't be compared to the natives of this world, it had a strong foundation since it started with the Divine Village Creation Token. Yi Chun had also swept the market when resources were the lowest and obtained a large amount of resources. Therefore, it wouldn't be difficult for Samsara Town to rise up. More importantly, once Samsara Town rose up, it would definitely shock the world. The reason was simple. Even the capital city of the Great Han Empire was only diamond level. And Yi Chun's Samsara Town was the only diamond level one. In terms of reputation, Yi Chun's reputation had reached 35 million. Although not everyone knew about it, it had reached the point where his name could be heard in Yuzhou. And now, what Yi Chun lacked the most was an official position. Without an official position, no matter how powerful the territory was, it would only be a noble. It wouldn't be able to be seen in public. And with an official position, it would be much more attractive to historical scholars. Of course, the benefits of an official position weren't just to increase the attraction of historical figures. It would also allow Yi Chun to lead troops in a battle legitimately. At this moment, although the Great Han Empire was decaying, the Great Han Empire still existed. If he led troops into battle without an official position, not only would there be a large limit to the number of troops he could lead, but he would also be immediately labeled as a rebel. In this era, Yi Chun didn't want such a reputation. It would be extremely detrimental to his future development. Moreover, with Dong Zhuo, this big shot who carried the banner of rebellion, Yi Chun wasn't worried at all. No one would harm the Great Han Empire. With that fatty, it would be difficult for the Great Han Empire to not fall. Of course, he wasn't the main reason, but he was the key to starting the Three Kingdoms era. My lord, my lord, Zhao Heng's voice suddenly sounded. Chapter 65. Yichen was taken aback when he heard Zhao Heng's voice. Zhao Heng should still be registering the refugees at the city gate. Now that he had run over, it was obvious that something important had happened. What's the matter? Yichen asked, puzzled. The Wuhuan cavalry had been wiped out not long ago, so there couldn't be any more of them. The bandits in the reincarnation forest had been wiped out, and the wild beasts had been wiped out as well. Only a few small animals and docile herbivores remained, so there shouldn't be any danger. My lord, the recruitment hall is finished. Zhao Heng came to Yichen and bowed with a smile. So fast. Yichen was taken aback and asked. Yichen had thought that the recruitment hall would be completed the next day. He didn't expect it to be completed in just a few hours. Yes, my lord. I saw that my lord placed great importance on the recruitment hall, so I sent extra manpower and instructed the craftsmen to speed up. The recruitment hall is now completed, Zhao Heng said with a bow. Zhao Heng was the deputy mayor and was loyal to Yichen. He would do his best to complete anything that Yichen valued. Let's go. Let's go take a look. Yichen's eyes lit up when he heard this. My lord, this way please, Zhao Heng said happily. After speaking, he led the way for Yichen. Before long, Yichen arrived at the entrance of the quaint recruitment hall. Yichen took a look at the recruitment hall and walked straight in. The recruitment hall was huge, but there were no tables or chairs. There was no one around, so it was very spacious. However, Yichen didn't care about this. He looked directly at the center of the recruitment hall, where there was a stone tablet that was half the height of a person. The stone tablet was shrouded in a mysterious aura, giving off a feeling that it didn't belong to the mortal world. Yichen walked straight to the stone tablet. The words recruitment hall were reflected in Yichen's eyes. Yichen raised his eyebrows when he saw the bold and powerful words that were constantly emitting a golden light and a mysterious aura that enveloped the stone tablet. This was the key to the recruitment hall. Thinking up to this point, Yichen placed his right hand on the stone tablet, and the system's notification sounded in Yichen's mind. Ding! The recruitment steel's energy is full. Do you wish to begin recruitment? Begin. Yichen made his choice without hesitation. Ding! Recruitment begins. Following the sound of the system's notification, the recruitment stone tablet instantly shone with a golden light, and a mysterious aura suddenly erupted. Yichen closed his eyes involuntarily. When the light dissipated, Yichen opened his eyes. At this moment, a young man appeared in the recruitment hall. He was wearing a long green robe. His hair was messily tied together with a straw rope. He held half a pot of turbid wine in his hand, and his face was blank. Where is this? Why do I feel a sense of familiarity? I want to stay here for a while, the young man suddenly said with some surprise. Yichen didn't recognize the identity of the young man in front of him, but Yichen knew that the recruitment hall would definitely recruit historical figures. Looking at the man's attire, it was obvious that he was a historical official, but Yichen didn't know what level he was at. You are? The young man saw Yichen and couldn't help but be taken aback. He then opened his mouth to ask, This is Samsara Town. I am the mayor of Samsara Town, a first viscount of the Great Han Empire, Yichen. Yichen smiled slightly and then opened his mouth to speak. When the young man heard this, he was even more confused. It was obvious that he had never heard of Yichen's name before. However, he quickly shook his head, then bowed and said, I am Guo Fengshao of Yingchuan. Greetings to Viscount Yichen. Yichen's title of Viscount was much better than the empty title of mayor, so the young man naturally addressed Yichen as Viscount. When Yichen heard the young man's name, he was first taken aback because he felt a sense of familiarity. Then he was stunned. Viscount Yichen, do you know me? Guojia saw Yichen's expression and couldn't help but ask in confusion. Yingchuan Guojia, Guo Fengshao. Yichen didn't answer and hurriedly asked instead. That's me. May I ask where Lord Viscount heard of me? Guojia was even more confused and asked curiously. Cough, cough. Your great name is known by everyone. Yichen laughed embarrassedly a few times before he opened his mouth to speak. At the same time, Yichen's heart was instantly filled with 10,000 alpacas. F***CK. So, joining the recruitment hall didn't mean joining Samsara Town to become an owner. However, since he came to Samsara Town, he couldn't run away. If he dared to run, he would break his legs. At this moment, Guijia's eyes suddenly flashed with a strange and unpredictable light. Then, his expression changed, but it quickly returned to normal. He then bowed without hesitation and said, "Guijia greets my lord." Yichun was stunned. He didn't expect Guijia to recognize him as his owner so easily. It was a little ridiculous. At this moment, the system's notification sounded. Ding! The superclass historical civil official, Guijia, wants to recognize you as his owner. Do you accept? Although Yichun didn't know the reason, he wouldn't hesitate. Accept. Ding! Congratulations to player Yichun for obtaining the loyalty of the superclass historical civil official, Guijia. Chapter 66. Hearing the system notification, Yichun felt like he was in a dream. Originally, Guijia was supposed to join Samsara Town. To be precise, he was supposed to live in Samsara Town and not acknowledge Yichun as his master. But reality gave Yichun a huge joke. Guijia acknowledged him as his master without hesitation. Yichun was still thinking about how to make Guijia acknowledge him as his master. Now, there was no need for that. My lord, are you wondering why I was so straightforward? Guijia smiled and took a sip of the wine in his hand. That is indeed the case. Yichun nodded and said, Jia is afraid that my lord will break my legs. Guijia swallowed the wine with a gulp and then sighed. Yichun was stunned when he heard this. Then his face stiffened and he laughed. Ha ha, let's go and have a drink. At this moment, the world announcement sounded. Ding! Congratulations to player Yichun for being the first to obtain the loyalty of a superclass historical official, Guijia. Player Yichun is rewarded with 5 million reputation points and 10 million gold taels. Ding! Congratulations to player Yichun for being the first to obtain the loyalty of a superclass historical general, Guijia. Player Yichun is rewarded with 5 million reputation points and 10 million gold taels. The moment the world announcement sounded, the world channel, which had just been restored, went into an uproar again. I'm an F***king, flip the table. Can't you let me play happily? F***ck. This Yichun is definitely cheating. That's right. Yichun is definitely cheating. Damn, how long has it been? You just got Dianwei, and now Guofengxiao. Damn it, I'm not convinced. Damn it, I don't believe that Yichun is so lucky. Damn it, I'm going to complain. If no one cares, I won't play this stupid game anymore. Idiot. Grandpa doesn't believe that you won't play this game anymore. You're so awesome that you won't come back again. As long as you persist for a year, no, as long as you persist for a month, I'll livestream myself eating sh*t. F***ck, you're awesome. That brother who's complaining about not playing, go offline and show him. If you come online in a month, we want to watch a live broadcast of you eating shit. F***cku, I'm just venting. Do you really think I'm as stupid as you? Only an idiot wouldn't play. What a joke. Then why don't you make a few blind moves? Haha, there's always trouble when one becomes famous. Boss Yichun is just awesome. Are you guys not convinced? Even if you don't want to, you have to. Damn it, Guijia, a top-notch historical official. Alright, there's also Jianwei, damn it. Yichun is trying to poach Cao Cao's people. Say, if Cao Cao finds out about this, won't he be so angry that he would chop Yichun with his 7-star sword? F***ck. We have to find Yichun first. F***ck. Let's not talk about Cao Cao. If I know where Yichun is, I'll go too. You'll chop him up? Chop his ass. Do you think Dianwei is a pushover? Is Guijia just a decoration? I'm going there to worship him. You don't say. Even if we find Yichun, I don't think many people would dare to target him. Don't forget, Yichun is a king-level general. F***ck, that's the innate realm. God knows how awesome Yi-chan is in real life. Tisk, what's there to be afraid of? It's not like everyone's strength is 100% synchronized. Even if you're awesome, you'll still have to be careful in real life. I don't believe that those big factions won't target Yi-chan. On the World Channel, the noise was mostly from individual players. As for the big and small factions, they were surprisingly united. No one spoke again. However, there was an undercurrent in this seemingly peaceful world. Some were pointing at Yi-chan, while others were pointing at the big cities in the game world. Those pointing at Yi-chan were very simple. They wanted to confirm the location of Yi-chan's territory. On the other hand, the targets of the major cities and towns were the generals and civil officials recorded in history. Yi-chan had taken in 2 super historical figures in a row, which seriously stimulated the big factions. If Yi-chan could do it, they could do it too. Therefore, they started to take action. They wanted to control the historical generals and civil officials. Unfortunately, most of the time, many things were taken for granted too much. However, many people didn't recognize this point. Samsara Town, Recruitment Hall. Guojia's eyes lit up when he heard Yi-chan say that he wanted to drink wine. He then said, "My lord, I can't be happy without wine. However, I only like to drink good wine." Yi-chan was slightly taken aback. He couldn't help but look at the half-empty pot of wine in Guojia's hand. "My lord, this is top-grade wine. Don't be fooled by its appearance. The taste is very unique." Guojia saw Yi-chan's gaze and drank the wine without changing his expression. He then said with an intoxicated expression, "If it wasn't for the smell of the wine mixed with water, I would have really believed it." Yi-chan's mouth twitched involuntarily. He then said, "Feng Xiao, I guarantee that after you drink some Saratown's wine, you won't want to drink outside anymore." "Really?" Guojia was slightly taken aback. Then his eyes lit up as he asked, "Feng Xiao, you don't believe me?" Yi-chan raised his eyebrows and asked, "Then I'll have to try it." Guojia laughed excitedly when he heard this. "However, the quality of that wine is extraordinary and we are unable to brew it for the time being. Even so, the wine that we brew now is not something that those so-called fine wines outside can compare with." Yi-chan laughed out loud and said. Guojia was taken aback. He asked doubtfully, "If it can't be brewed, doesn't that mean it doesn't belong to the human world?" Yi-chan smiled and nodded. He said, "That's true. My lord, I want to have a taste of this wine right now." Guojia swallowed his saliva and hurriedly said, "Let's go." Yi-chan laughed and brought Guojia to the tavern. Once they entered, Yi-chan ordered the tavern owner, "Go and bring me the failed wine." "Yes, my lord." The tavern owner hurriedly bowed and responded. Then he ran to bring over the wine that was produced from the failed brewing of the 100 Flowers brew. There wasn't much wine. There was only 1 pot. However, before he opened the lid, the strong fragrance of the wine wafted out. It was refreshing. Both Yi-chan and Guojia couldn't help but take a deep breath. "My lord, is this wine really a failed wine?" Guojia closed his eyes and asked excitedly. He only opened his eyes after a while. Chapter 67. Indeed, it's still too early. In time, this wine will be even better than this. Yi-chan nodded with a smile. "I'm really looking forward to that day." After saying that, Guojia picked up the wine pot and poured a cup for Yi-chan, then filled his own cup. "My lord, please," Guojia said and drank it in 1 gulp. Yi-chan smiled faintly and drank it as well. After Guojia finished drinking, he let out a sigh of relief after a long while. Then, he looked at Yi-chan and asked, "Why don't you suspect me?" "Suspect? What do you suspect?" Yi-chan was slightly taken aback before he asked. "Suspect that I pretended to agree in order to save my life, so that I could find a chance to leave Samsara Town and leave you." Guojia looked into Yi-chan's eyes and asked seriously. When Yi-chan heard this, he couldn't help but smile and said, "If suspicion was useful, I would be the lord of the world now." After Yi-chan finished speaking, he poured himself a glass of wine and then continued. "I valued you because I knew you were Ingchuan, Guojia, Guo Fengxiao. So when I found out that you were Guojia of Ingchuan, I was ecstatic. At that moment, I thought that if you didn't follow me, I would break your legs and even kill you." When Yi-Chen said this, a violent, murderous intent appeared. However, Guojia's expression didn't change at all. He even poured himself a cup of wine and slowly tasted it. Yi-Chen's murderous intent disappeared as quickly as it appeared. The moment it disappeared, a domineering aura gushed out. "Feng Xiao, I won't allow anyone to stop me. Not even the demon tribe or the sorcerer tribe. I don't think anyone can stop me from moving forward." Yi-Chen paused for a moment, then looked at Guojia and said, "You can choose again. You can choose again. If you stay, I need your loyalty. If you leave, I'll let you leave unscathed." Gulp. Guojia drained the cup of wine in one gulp. Yi-Chen didn't speak again. His aura was as stable as a rock. Guojia didn't say a word. He closed his eyes and seemed to be intoxicated by the wine. As time passed, Guojia suddenly opened his eyes with a smile on his face. "This wine is so delicious." Guojia sighed and stood up. He bowed solemnly and said, "Ing Chuan, Guojia, Guofeng Xiao, swears to follow my lord. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi-Chen for passing the test. The superclass historical official Guojia has officially recognized you as his master. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi-Chen. Guojia's loyalty plus 100, promoted to die loyal." Hearing this, Yi-Chen heaved a sigh of relief. Damn, as expected, it wasn't so easy to get a top-notch historical official. If something went wrong, the person would run away. Luckily, he didn't run away. Yi-Chen hurriedly looked at Guojia's attribute panel. Guojia, superclass historical official characteristics. Great wise as a demon grade aptitude SSS, sealed, loyalty, die loyal force, 30 bone frame, 90 spirit, 100 fortune, hidden martial arts, ghost deity technique, incomplete, sacred skills, ghost deity eye, aura, observation equipment, none ghost deity eye. Guojia must have used the eye of the demon god to cast that strange gaze, damn. This ghost deity, I can't read minds, right? Thinking of this, Yi-Chen looked at Guojia with a pained expression. Guojia saw Yi-Chen's strange look and was stunned. He then asked, "My lord, is there something wrong with me? Does your demon gods, I have the ability to read minds?" Yi-Chen asked curiously, "My lord, are you worried that I can read your mind and find out your secrets?" Guojia was stunned for a moment and then asked with a smile. Yi-Chen's face froze. Although Yi-Chen didn't want to admit it, what Guojia said was the truth. Damn, how annoying would it be to have a subordinate who could read minds? Even though this subordinate was 100% loyal, it was still vexing. At this moment, Guojia laughed and explained, "My lord, ghost deity, I doesn't have the ability to read minds, but it can detect danger in advance." Guojia picked up the wine jug and gulped it down. He then said with a bitter face, "My lord, I didn't expect you to break my leg. Back then, you actually wanted to break my leg. My lord, I'm very hurt." When Yi-Chen heard this, he couldn't help but laugh a few times before saying, "I'll give you a pot of this wine every day. 3 jugs." Guojia hurriedly raised 3 fingers and said. Yi-Chen's face froze when he heard this. He realized that Guojia was deliberately acting pitiful so that he could drink more wine. At this thought, Yi-Chen glared at Guojia and said, 3 jugs, you can drink 3 jugs. But you can only drink 1 jug for now. If you want 3 jugs, you have to wait until the 100-flower wine is halfway done. Then, it won't harm your body and will be good for you. According to historical records, Guojia died young. Yi-Chen didn't want Guojia's health to worsen because of drinking. As for Guojia's illness, Yi-Chen didn't have a good solution at the moment. He could only find a way to get the legendary elixir or find the divine Dr. Hua Ta to cure Guojia's illness. Of course, even if Guojia died, Yi-Chen wouldn't be worried because Yi-Chen still had the Yang rejuvenation elixir. "Okay, my lord, it's a deal." Guojia's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, "No problem." Yi-Chen nodded, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 68. 100 Flower Wine was one of the top 10 famous wines of the Primordial era. It didn't belong to the mortal world, but Yi Chun had obtained it by accident. Although it hadn't been successfully brewed, the quality of this failed 100-flower wine was still incomparable to the so-called fine wines outside. Moreover, Guo Jia was an alcoholic, so it was even harder for him to resist the charm of 100-flower wine. Yi Chun naturally knew this, so he didn't find Guo Jia's behavior strange. Guo Jia was happy because Yi Chun agreed to give him wine. Suddenly, he was stunned. After he recovered, he hurriedly asked, "Your Excellency, are you planning to seek an official position?" How did Feng Xiao know? Yi Chun asked in surprise. Yi Chun was very sure that he hadn't said anything, but Guo Jia had immediately said that Yi Chun wanted to seek an official position. This left Yi Chun very confused. Of course, more importantly, he had a clearer understanding of Guo Jia's awesomeness. How could he not be awesome? They had just met, and Yi Chun hadn't said anything, but Guo Jia had seen through Yi Chun's thoughts. "Your Excellency, are you going to Luoyang?" Guo Jia's expression changed when he heard this. He didn't answer Yi Chun. Instead, he asked anxiously, "Guo Jia can tell that I'm going to Luoyang?" As expected, super historical figures aren't simple, but why is Guo Jia so anxious could it be? The trip to Luoyang, thinking of this, Yi Chun's heart couldn't help but sink. Then he said, "I was planning to go to Luoyang, but Feng Xiao came, so I didn't." Before Yi Chun could finish, Guo Jia hastily bowed and said, "Your Excellency, Your Excellency, Your Excellency, Your Excellency, your trip to Luoyang will be a blessing and a curse. Please reconsider." Yi Chun's heart sank again when he heard this. Since Guo Jia had recognized him as his master and had become a loyal follower, he definitely wouldn't speak without thinking, nor would he deliberately show off. "Feng Xiao, can you tell where the danger is coming from?" Yi Chun asked after a moment of silence. "My lord, must we go to Luoyang?" Guo Jia glanced at the top of Yi Chun's head and asked. "Yes, I have to go. Time waits for no one. I must get the official position. Otherwise, it will mess up my plans." Yi Chun nodded heavily. Yi Chun had to go to Luoyang. Yi Chun also had to obtain an official position. This was Yi Chun's key move to deal with the upcoming Yellow Turban Rebellion. He had to do it. No matter how dangerous it was, he had to do it. Guo Jia was silent for a moment before he asked, "My lord, can you inform me of the plan to go to Luoyang?" When Yi Chun heard this, he revealed his plan without hesitation. If it was someone else, Yi Chun wouldn't say anything because it involved eunuchs. But Guo Jia was different. He had already acknowledged Yi Chun as his master and was 100% loyal. After hearing Yi Chun's plan, Guo Jia paced back and forth for a while before stopping. He then looked at Yi Chun and said, "My lord, the bandits won't be able to suppress the bandits. My lord, it's hard to hide the fact that you've exterminated the bandits. My lord, you've already buried those bandits. I'm afraid that they've already rotted away. Even if there's a bandit leader wanted by the imperial court, it's impossible to identify him even if we dig up his corpse." Suppressing the bandits, Yi Chun was taken aback. He didn't understand why Guo Jia would suddenly mention the bandits. But Guo Jia's words gave Yi Chun a reminder. "Feng Xiao, before you came, I wiped out 15,000 Wuhuan cavalry. Is that enough merit?" Yi Chun asked Guo Jia. Guo Jia was stunned when he heard this. He looked at Yi Chun in shock and asked, "My lord wiped out 15,000 Wuhuan cavalry?" Yi Chun nodded and said, "That's true. I set up an ambush in the forest and wiped out 15,000 cavalry. It's done." Guo Jia's eyes brightened, and then he excitedly asked, "Is there anyone else? Besides that damned eunuch, there's someone else in Luoyang who's even more powerful?" Yi Chun froze for a moment before asking, "You're talking about Great General He Jin?" Guo Jia shook his head. Then he raised his finger and pointed upwards. "You're saying..." Yi Chun saw Guo Jia's gesture and immediately realized who Guo Jia was talking about. Guo Jia nodded and then said, "That's right. My lord, if this matter is handled properly, my lord might not suffer any losses. Tell me quickly." Yi Chun's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he said. Guo Jia looked around and saw that no one was around, so he whispered his plan. After hearing Guo Jia's plan, Yi couldn't help but be taken aback, and then he threw his head back and howled with laughter. Feng Xiao, with your help, I don't have to worry about not succeeding. My lord, we must proceed with caution. We cannot afford to make any mistakes. Otherwise, Guojia smiled bitterly before speaking in a serious tone. This matter will succeed. Yi Qin's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Guojia bowed and helplessly said, It's just that we'll lose some war horses. I hope that my lord won't blame you, Jia. Yi Qin laughed and said, Ha ha, it's just war horses. Besides, it's not all of them. Moreover, we'll have war horses soon, and many of them at that. Chapter 69. Why do you say that, Your Highness? Guijiao was taken aback and asked. Yi Qin laughed and then said, That's right. The Reincarnation Valley is surrounded by mountains. At the highest peak is the wasteland boss, the Blue-Eyed Tiger King. However, I've already killed the Blue-Eyed Tiger King, and the Wuhuan Cavalry's target is it. From the words of the Wuhuan Cavalry, one thing could be confirmed. The reason why they are here is because their leader, Xie Dun, is going to hold a birthday celebration for Wuhuan Chanyu Qiu Liju. The birthday gift is the Blue-Eyed Tiger King. After listening to Yi Qin's explanation, Guijia thought for a while and then said, That's right. My lord, this matter needs to be arranged in detail. Otherwise, the Wuhuan Cavalry will not come again. Even if they come, they will not ride into the reincarnation forest. Yi Qin was stunned for a moment before he realized what Guijia meant. Feng Xiao, are you saying that they will send someone to investigate? Guijia nodded and said, That's right. If the Wuhuan people find out about Samsara Town, they will definitely come for revenge. However, they won't use their war horses and will even burn down Samsara Forest. When Yi Qin heard this, he couldn't help but smile. I have considered this matter. Originally, I planned to kill as many spies as there were, so that the Wuhuan side would think that the Blue-Eyed Tiger King was too cruel and kill all the Wuhuan cavalrymen. Then, they would send more cavalrymen here. Guijia was slightly taken aback. He did not expect Yi Qin to have already thought of a countermeasure. Stroking his beardless chin, Guijia suddenly bowed respectfully to Yi Qin and said, I'm sorry. My lord is a man of great talent and strategy. He should be the master of men. Stop flattering me. Yi Qin glared at Guijia, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Feng Xiao, you should have a better idea, right? Tell me quickly. Guijia chuckled as he stood up and asked, My lord, have you ever heard of the saying, money moves the heart? Money moves people's hearts? Yi Qin couldn't help but be stunned. Feng Xiao, are you saying that we're using money to lure the Wuhuan people? Yes and no. Guijia smiled and said. Yi Qin glared at Guijia and said with a long sigh, Feng Xiao, I feel that my thoughts when we first met were correct. Now, I feel that they are correct. All top-notch historical officials love to posture, and Guijia was no exception. But his posture was a little too high, and it made Yi Qin feel a little annoyed. Of course, Yi Qin was only joking with Guijia. It was not a big deal. When Guijia heard this, his face froze. He then said, My lord, you want to break my leg? That's not something a good lord should do. No, you shouldn't even think about it. Tell me. Yi Qin glared at Guijia and said, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Guijia laughed embarrassedly, then adjusted his expression and asked, Since the Blue-Eyed Tiger King has been killed by you, my lord, do you still have its tiger skin? I've buried the Blue-Eyed Tiger King in the Reincarnation Valley because its descendants have become my spiritual beast. Yi Qin paused for a moment and then said. Guijia's eyes lit up when he heard this. He then said, It's done. Yi Qin was stunned at first. Then his eyes lit up and he asked, Feng Xiao, what do you mean? Using the Blue-Eyed Tiger King and a large amount of money to deceive the Wuhuan spies, and then lead the Wuhuan cavalry to invade? That's right. Guijia nodded vigorously and then said, My lord, in this way, we can prevent any spies from escaping the net when we kill the Wuhuan spies. At this point, Guijia hurriedly explained, Didn't I say that your plan is not feasible? Yichen shook his head helplessly and said, I'm not an obstinate person. My previous plan was indeed negligent. The reincarnation forest is too big, and it's impossible to determine how many Wuhuan spies have entered. If we don't kill all of them, Wuhuan spies will definitely know about the Reincarnation Valley and Reincarnation Town. At that time, the Reincarnation Forest will be burned down, and Reincarnation Town will be in danger. Guojia heaved a sigh of relief and then said, It's my great fortune to be able to follow you, my lord. Yi Chen's mouth twitched involuntarily. Then he said, Stop flattering me. Hurry up and tell me the details. Guojia nodded with a smile and then said, We need to dig up the corpse of the blue-eyed Tiger King and place it at the entrance of the valley. We need to pretend that it's asleep. Since your spiritual beast is the descendant of the blue-eyed Tiger King, it will hide beside the blue-eyed Tiger King and let out a few tiger roars. The Wuhuan spies will not dare to investigate. In this way, the blue-eyed Tiger King's death will not be discovered. However, you also need to take out a large amount of gold, silver, and jewels and place them on the ground. It's best to cover the ground with them. Then, we can get some Wuhuan cavalry corpses and make them look more tragic. That's all we need to do. Good. I'll leave this to you, Feng Xiao. Yi Chen's eyes lit up when he heard this. Chapter 70. When Guojia heard this, he straightened his body and bowed respectfully. This humble one obeys. Yi Chen nodded and asked, Feng Xiao, how long do you think it will take for the Jiduan scouts to arrive? Guojia stroked his beardless chin and thought for a moment before replying, My lord, this is Liuzhou. My lord, we're in Liaoxi of Yuzhou province. The Wuhuan clan is active in the north. However, the road is rugged. It will take at least one day for the Wuhuan scouts to come here. I estimate that the Jiduan scouts will be on the road in another 2 days. It will take another 2 days for the scouts to return to the Reincarnation Forest. So it will take at least 5 days for the Jiduan cavalry to arrive. Yi Chen narrowed his eyes and said, 5 days. That's enough time. Make your preparations. I'll go to Luoyang first. When I come back, I'll deal with the Wuhuan cavalry. Guojia nodded, then bowed and said, My lord, you must be careful when you go to Luoyang. You must be careful at every step. Although it's a good plan, the heavens often don't fulfill one's wishes. I have a qi art. Although most of the qi blood around you has been reduced, there's still some lingering around you. I can't tell where the danger is coming from. However, I can tell that wherever you go, blood will flow like rivers. Although the Lord is brave, he cannot kill wantonly. This will affect the Lord's destiny and bring immeasurable disaster to the Lord. At least with your current foundation, you can't contend with it or even destroy it. Yi Chen was taken aback. He didn't expect Guojia to say this. However, Yi Chen immediately frowned. Wherever you go, blood will flow like rivers. Yi Chen repeated in a low voice. A moment later, monstrous killing intent surged out. In that instant, Yi Chen confirmed where the danger Guojia mentioned came from. Players. The danger Guojia mentioned came from players. Guojia couldn't make an accurate judgment only if the person was a player like Yi Chen. It was because of them that Guojia said that wherever Yi Chen went, blood would flow like rivers. Because players were unscrupulous in this world. Because this was the beginner's area. Because dying here would only result in a drop in level. The so-called punishment of death was insignificant, and no one was afraid of it. Guojia's words made it clear to Yi Chen that players would target Yi Chen, and there would be a lot of players. Although Guojia could not figure it out, Yi Chen could. Similar occurrences often happened in his previous life. Whenever someone obtained something good, there would immediately be people who would surround and intercept them, trying to snatch them. When someone obtained the follower of a historical figure, there would also be a large number of powers that would appear, using threats and promises to snatch the historical figure over. Although it was not easy to snatch historical figures, this did not stop the footsteps of those forces. In this life, Yi Chen made the first world announcement when the game started. The whole world remembered Yi Chen. Not long after, Yi Chun was the first to build a village, the first to advance to king-level general, the first to kill General Wu Huan, the first to upgrade to Samsara Town, the first to take in the superclass historical General Dian Wei, and the first to take in the superclass historical civil official Guijia. Any one of them made a world announcement, and Yi Chun's name was known all over the world. In the early stages of the game, many people did not even know how to play the game, but Yi Chun had created one legend after another. Everyone believed that Yi Chun had grasped the secret of the game. Everyone was jealous of Yi Chun, and everyone was jealous of Yi Chun, especially in this mutated world where playing a game could make one's body stronger in real life. Everyone wanted to find Yi Chun and ask him about the secret. However, these were only the minority. Most of them wanted to capture Yi Chun and control Yi Chun. This was what Yi Chun had always disliked, but he had already seen through it. It was the greed and greed of humans, the desire and desire that came from the depths of their hearts. It seems that many people have already set their sights on me, although I don't know who they are. However, this is not important. The important thing is no matter who it is, no matter what their identity is, if they dare to cause trouble for me, kill. Thinking of this, Yi Chun's murderous aura exploded. With a boom, it boiled and soared into the sky. Wild, and domineering aura that looked down on the world rose up. My lord! Guojia sensed Yi Chun's murderous aura and also sensed Yi Chun's determination. He could not help but be shocked, and then shouted. Yi Chun collected his thoughts and looked at Guijia. He looked up at the sky and laughed wildly. If I cower, just because of the possibility of danger, then I am not worthy to be your lord. At this point, Yi Chun's eyes narrowed, and then he shouted, I want to see what those demons and monsters can do to me. Boom! The aura on Yi Chun's body exploded with Yi Chun's shout. An aura that no one dared to look directly at silently appeared on Yi Chun's body. It then became thicker and thicker. That aura was domineering, wild, but it also contained the aura of a king. Chapter 71. Guojia was looking at Yi Chun. He originally wanted to persuade Yi Chun, but he suddenly froze. What? What's going on? Why? Why few? Yi Chun let out a long sigh, and his aura disappeared. Feng Xiao, what's wrong? Yi Chun asked in confusion when he saw Guojia's incredulous expression. Guojia heard Yi Chun's question and snapped out his daze. My lord, you're indeed extraordinary. I can't see through your luck. Yi Chun couldn't help but smile when he heard this. It doesn't matter if you can see through it or not. The key is that you discovered the danger I might encounter in advance. My lord, I'm ashamed that I wasn't able to resolve your problems, Guojia said with a sigh and a bow. Feng Xiao, you've already done very well. If it weren't for you, I'd probably still be in the dark. Perhaps I'd only be able to react if I encountered it, but by then, it would be too late. But now, Yi Chun's eyes narrowed, and a cold glint flashed in his eyes. If not for Guijia's reminder, Yi Chun might have overlooked the possible danger from the players during his trip to Luoyang. But now Yi Chun was on his guard. My lord, you have to be more careful, Guojia said with a sigh and a bow. Yi Chun nodded and smiled. He said, let's go and walk around. Choose a place you like, and let the craftsman build a house for you. My lord, I've already chosen a place, Guojia said with a glint in his eyes. Where did you choose? Yi Chun was stunned for a moment before he asked. My lord, my house will be built across from the tavern. What do you think? Guojia asked excitedly. Yi Chun didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at Guojia. He said, Feng Xiao really knows how to choose a place. This will be a busy city in the future. Are you sure you want to choose this place? I can understand that you like it here, but what about your wife? She might not like it here. It doesn't matter. If she dares to talk too much, Jia will divorce her. Moreover, Jia is not married yet, so there's no need to worry. Guojia said nonchalantly. Yi Chun was surprised after hearing Guojia's explanation. He then laughed and said, Feng Xiao, I'm afraid the second half is from the bottom of your heart. Ahem, what Jia said is true. Guojia laughed awkwardly when he heard this. Yi Chun glared at Guojia and said, That's right. This place will be a busy city in the future. There will be too many people coming and going, so it's not suitable for living. As for if you want to drink, what I said before is still valid. When 100 flowers is halfway done, you can drink 3 jugs a day. But, Feng Xiao, I'll be frank. If you dare to drink too much, I'll really break your legs. In fact, Yichen already knew what Guijia was thinking when he chose to build the house opposite the tavern. After drinking the 100-flower wine every day, he would buy and drink as much as he could. There was no helping it. Who told Guijia to be an alcoholic? Guijia's face froze when he heard this. He looked at Yichen with hidden bitterness. Fo Xiao, I'm doing this for your own good. I think you know your body better than anyone else. Before I completely treat you, you're not allowed to drink too much. Yichen sighed, then looked at Guijia and said sternly. Guijia was surprised when he heard this. Then, he regained his composure and bowed deeply to Yichen. My lord, Jia's illness is the envy of the heavens. It can't be cured by medicine. Moreover, Yichen frowned and raised his hand to interrupt Guijia. If I say it can be treated, it can be treated. No one can take my subordinate's life from my hands, not even the heavens. Not even the heavens. Yichen waved his right hand, and the Yang restoration pill appeared. This is... Guijia was stunned. Then, his eyes narrowed, and he said in shock, the Yang restoration pill. This is the last resort. If I really can't find a way to treat you, I won't watch you die. Even if you die, I can bring you back. Yichen said seriously, I have no regrets in my life if I follow you, my lord. Guijia's body trembled involuntarily as he said loudly. Yichen smiled, but at that moment, Guijia opened his mouth and said, my lord, the Yang restoration pill can bring the dead back to life. However, even if I use the Yang restoration pill to revive myself, the jealousy of the heavens will still follow me. Therefore, don't waste this pill on me. What did you say? After you revive, the jealousy of the heavens will still follow you? Yichen asked in a low voice. Indeed, the jealousy of the heavens cannot be defied by man. Even though I am blessed by the heavens, I can't think of a way to cure it. Guijia sighed and said in a lonely voice, that's impossible. There are 50 great Taoists and 49 heavenly divinations. If one of them escapes, nothing can be solved. Yichen frowned and said in a low voice. Chapter 72. After a moment of silence, Guijia said, my lord, I understand this logic. However, human strength cannot defy the heavens. When Yichen heard Guijia's lifeless words, he couldn't help but frown. Guijia was Yichen's subordinate and was a top-notch historical official. More importantly, Guijia was loyal to Yichen. Yichen naturally didn't want Guijia to die. At this moment, Yichen suddenly thought of something and his eyes lit up. He then looked at Guijia and asked, what about you? He looked at Guijia and asked, Feng Xiao, if you ascend with me, heaven's jealousy should disappear, right? My lord, are you talking about ascending to the upper realm? Leave this world? Guijia was stunned for a moment before he asked. Exactly. When Yichen heard this, he felt even more confident. Ascending to the upper realm and leaving this realm, heaven's jealousy naturally won't affect me. However, my lord, the path to ascension has long been severed. Moreover, even if my lord can ascend, you can't bring me with you. Guijia sighed. F***CK. Sure enough, it works. This is great. Yichen's eyes lit up and he laughed maniacally. Ha ha. My lord? Guijia asked after a moment of surprise. Yichen took a deep breath and exhaled. He looked at Guijia and said, Feng Xiao, the path to ascension has been severed. Feng Xiao, the path to ascension is not cut off. I can bring you with me. Not only will I bring you with me, but I will also bring all of my subordinates and citizens with me. Guijia was stunned when he heard this. Then, he opened his mouth and said, that's impossible. My lord, even if you know how to continue the path of ascension, but you can't bring so many people with you. Feng Xiao, you don't believe me? Yichen raised his eyebrows and asked, my lord, Jia, Guijia suddenly thought of something and was stunned. Then he said in shock, "My lord, divine village creation token. The one and only divine village creation token in the world is in my lord's hands." Obviously, Guijia knew about the god-grade village creation token, and he also knew about its characteristics. Gather the chi of providence and let the entire nation ascend. Yichen chuckled and nodded. Feng Xiao is right. Samsara Town was built with a god-tier village creation token. When Guijia heard this, he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Then his eyes lit up as he shouted, "Congratulations, my lord! Congratulations, my lord! With this divine item, my lord's great cause will be accomplished. My lord should be the master of the people." "Ha ha! Feng Xiao, you can't be lazy anymore. You have to share my burdens." Yichen laughed and said, "My lord, Jiao wouldn't dare to slack off." Guijia hurriedly said, "Don't drink so much." Yichen glared at Guijia and said, "Ahem, this? Jia, I'll try my best." Guijia's face stiffened, and then he said with an embarrassed smile. Yichen shook his head helplessly. "Let's go and find the deputy mayor, Zhao Hong. He will arrange for people to build you a residence." "My lord, it's just a small matter. Jia can handle it myself. My lord can deal with other matters." Guijia chuckled. "Okay, all right, when you see Zhao Hong, remember to tell him to find me some maids and a few cooks." Yichen nodded and said, "My lord, do you have any requirements for the looks of the maids?" Guijia was taken aback and asked. "They can't be ugly," Yichen said without hesitation. "My lord, leave it to Jia." Guijia's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he immediately said. Yichen just nodded when he realized that something was wrong. Guijia's gaze didn't seem right. Was he thinking that he should find a concubine? Thinking of this, Yichen's face stiffened and he hurriedly said, "Don't mess around. Your lord doesn't like ordinary women." Guijia was taken aback when he heard this. Yichen glared at Guijia and said, "If your lord wants a beautiful woman, he will chase after her and snatch her." Cough, cough. In short, maids are only used for chores. Don't think too much about it. Guijia was taken aback when he heard this and couldn't help but ask in confusion, "But my lord, your luck with women is very good. Now that you're talking about maids, aren't you looking for a beautiful concubine?" "Of course not." Yichen sighed and said. Then he was taken aback. "Wait, luck with women is very good, Jiaoyu? Or Luoyang?" Yichen's eyes lit up when he thought of this. Calculating the time, Jiao Chan should be in Luoyang by now. F***CK. I can't wait any longer. I'll leave for Luoyang tomorrow. If that old man Wang Yun adopts Jiao Chan as his daughter, it will be difficult to get Jiao Chan. Guijia was about to say something when he realized that Yi Chan was in a daze, so he waited quietly at the side. At this moment, Yichen snapped out of his daze and let out a long sigh. He then looked at Guijia and said in a carefree manner, "Feng Xiao, thank you for reminding me. Otherwise, I would have forgotten something extremely important. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."